Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king. Knowledge is power.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey.
Hodor, welcome to episode 90 of the Showboys podcast. Not episode 88. Sorry about that intro. Wrong image, but that's okay.
Yep.
We'll fix that next time, right, Mike?
Bad job out of me.
Right, Mike? Cool.
It's a bad job out of me. I forgot we would probably have specific images for each of these episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not your first rodeo, Mike. Anyway, thank you for joining us on this special edition of the Showboys podcast. This is kind of a companion series of an entire series, season by season of Game of Thrones. And so usually we do our companion series episodes on Sundays. Today is Sunday, so maybe this is the most correct of them all. But it is blended in with our Thursday episodes. So
it's just a weird amalgamation of things that we do.
A lot of concepts. We're piloting something here. And I think it's working. We'll get there. But definitely crazy. It's Memorial Day weekend here in America. For those of you international listeners that don't celebrate this holiday.
We're big in New Zealand, I heard.
Yeah, big in New Zealand. 1%. But I had a pretty stacked day. Had the family over, had a cookout, went well. Perfect weather today. Capping out at 80, settling back down in the 70s. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Hope you guys got out there and enjoyed it too.
The last 2 days have been just incredibly busy for me.
Incredible.
Yeah, I didn't get inside the house. So left for church at probably like 8:50 a.m. and I got back home after all the events today around 5, passed out on the couch for an hour, and then went outside again and didn't get back in the house until like 8:30. So hence the lack of switching out the image in the intro there.
This is true. Given right in that half hour, I made the image, so that gave you less time.
I think we need to clear this up too real quick. Joe, there was no pre-roll tonight. So you didn't miss anything, but your night is still ruined.
That
sorry.
Civ ad is like the stuff of legend, though. I have nightmares of it sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Just the pop up in the hi.
Yeah,
he's like the little dude in Mortal Kombat that used to pop around the corner.
Yeah,
It's great. We got a lot of good ads. Changing those soon. But anyway, Chad, you doing well this evening?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, I think I broke my ankle. My mic screwed up, but I did add an Iron Throne.
Could be better.
It could be a little bit better. I did add. My plan here is to add something new every season, and I've got plenty to add Game of Thrones wise back there. So we've added the Iron Throne back there. It kind of looks like a blob of metal currently,
like an unfurled slinky.
But it's back there, yeah. It's a pop, so it's a pop throne, right?
Oh, nice.
I had to take the character off of it.
Is that the Night King or whatever?
Pop? Yes. I didn't know how to answer that because
typically it's like a yes or no.
Yeah, but it's like you were like in spoiler area there.
I mean, come on, it's been a Funko Pop that's been on shelves for how many years?
Yeah, that's true.
Mike's well into the Funkoverse, so you can't hold back any Funko spoilers from him.
True, yeah. Very
Yeah,
true.
I have no idea who the Night King is and how he comes into play, but I know that he has a pop on the Iron Throne.
You will.
You will.
Speaking of which, though, this is season 2. We're going to recap. We pushed Mike to watch it. He's watched it, right, Mike?
What?
You watched season 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I finished it last night.
Nice. I did too. So we are going to cruise through this episode, cover the season. Really good season. This season dates back to 2012 as far as viewership goes. So that clears up Jordan's concern on the first season when we're covering this. He's like, man, what year is it?
Yeah.
We're flying back 10 years. And actually April to June is when it ran. So we were like right in the middle of the, 10 years ago, this season running. So yay to that. But this one I read, interesting enough, usually the seasons tend to last a long time in terms of in the show. This one is actually over the course of a few months.
Oh, interesting.
And there are character arcs and introductions to characters that are held back from the first book that are then waited to be introduced in season 2 here. But then they also peel in things from the third book back into this season. Some things that are off page in book 2 that are happening during this time, they pull from book 3 into this.
Yeah, I thought I read that they changed a lot of stuff like that because once we get into the season here, the character that Arya meets in the season, she meets a totally different character I heard in the book and that kind of stuff. I do really want to read the books, and I have the first one, but they're rough to get through. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big reader, which might be the crux of the issue, but I think I just need to bite the bullet, I think.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I will have seen it twice makes me want to watch or read the books more. And obviously, Chad, you've seen it like 18 times, so you should be able to read the books pretty well.
Yeah, right.
And I know a lot of like back in the day, like people would legit take notes while reading these books.
Oh yeah.
So I would hope I can circumnavigate that to do, but maybe that's fun to read the books and take notes. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound kind of fun. But at the same time, aren't the notes just right in front of your freaking eyes in the book, Those are your notes that you're reading through, right?
Yeah, but I think there's just so much going on.
You're literally reading the notes.
You are reading the notes.
You're taking notes on notes. But yeah. So lots of stuff going on here. And I think this is where they really started playing with how the show really was going to flow. And that's where I think they were actively saying, hey, let's grab some stuff that we forgot that's important from the first book, but let's in smart ways incorporate them from future things. Cause I think it makes a lot of sense to keep the character arcs going. Cause it sounds like if they didn't do that, we would be missing characters for entire seasons.
Yeah, right.
Even more than we already complain about that aspect.
Yeah, I was gonna say that even still happens. Yeah, I think season 2 is they're working with a lot of stuff here. So I'm surprised that the show turned out the way that it did and they were able to weave everything that's in the books. Now, granted, I'm sure it's not everything that's in the books, but just that's a lot to keep a hold on. You know what I mean? That's a lot of characters, a lot of arcs, it's a lot of places, it's a lot of everything.
Hence the notes.
Keep track of. Hence the notes. Yeah. So I don't know. Season 2, I like season 2 a lot. I think at least in my head, I like it better than season 1. But you see kind of the rise in writing and production values in season 2 for sure. I think still, I don't want to say low budget, but still compared to the rest of what we're going to see on the lower end of things. But not to say anything bad about season 1, because I even rewatching it for this, I really like season 1. It's just not the rest of the show to me personally,
Well, definitely season 1, like we talked about, like sets the events of the entire series in motion. And you can see that continue to play out in season 2. So, I loved season 1, and I think as I continue to watch, I think it'll still hold up as we go through the seasons. Just there's a lot of important stuff that happened there.
Right. Yeah.
What did you think of season 2, Mike?
It was really good. Before I get in, we'll just read this comment from Joe. He says, Chad, if I make you feel any better, I just covered myself in tea. I'm doing great. I think I broke my ankle. My mic's screwed. Must run in the family. Yeah, season 2 definitely kind of kicks things up a notch in terms of events that happen. Before we get into any specific things that play out, I really liked several of the arcs that happen. The introduction of a character that coincidentally looks exactly like a project manager that we used to have at my current place of work and Nick's former place of work, which I had heard rumblings of that back when the show was out, and I'm like,
oh really?
I had no idea what people were talking about because
we talked about
I wasn't watching about Game of Thrones. But now that I see this character, I'm like, oh my god, is that the person? Did she magically steal away and have this side acting gig that
they
we
at least
know
came
about?
from the same house? You know what I mean? Same
long
for
lost
sure house.
sisters, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's only a couple of female characters introduced in the season. Very curious.
Yeah. But yeah, the introduction of some of these new characters, really cool. The progression of a certain somebody that I was kind of a fan of, but now I no longer am a fan of, was cool, but also not cool. I think episode 9 was probably the most intense episode, and kind of felt more like a finale to me than the finale did, but the end of the finale made it feel like
yeah, you'll get that.
You'll
get that a lot through this show, to be honest with you. There are a couple finales that are just straight bangers, I'm not gonna lie, but most of the big stuff happens in the 9th episode in the show, which it does in quite a few other shows as well.
Yeah, there was a really egregious one. I think it was the first season of Titans on HBO. The penultimate episode was massively epic, and they basically completed the entire story arc. And then there's still one episode left, and it literally felt like episode 1 of the next season. I'm like, why did you do it? This was terrible. Why would you do this?
Yeah.
Season 2 of Game of Thrones, not like that, but definitely episode 9 was a lot more intense than episode 10.
Yeah.
I think that's a combination of one, obviously, the writing, right, but also the material that they have to work with. Because I think if showrunners can pull that trick out of the bag and be like, watch this, we're gonna season finale on the penultimate, and then we're going to, in a less that's gonna be the action pack and really kind of peak all the tension that's been going on in the season. Then in the finale, we're going to slow it down. We're going to have it all be writing mostly, and remind you that there is bigger stuff still boiling. And still leave it on almost not a cliffhanger. That's what I like, is because these aren't cliffhangers,
right?
They're really just wow, so much just got wrapped up, but there's still all this other crap that's about to just come down.
Well, and everything that got wrapped up sets something new in motion.
Yep.
And there definitely episode 10 has a lot of that happening. A lot of very important things, wrapping up, so to speak.
Right.
Such as a certain someone's tenure as Hand of the King, which big rips.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it because honestly, if you see Ned as the main character of the first season, I think Tyrion is the main character of the season, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That I'm not going to lie to you, when I was watching this for the first time, worried me quite a bit because I like Tyrion, and it seems like main characters just don't do very well around here.
There's a fluke.
Hey, also suffered similar, fates to involving swords to the head region.
True. Yeah. Definitely.
So Tyrion's much less severe.
Yeah.
He's shorter, so it saved him.
That's true.
Yeah, I always wonder about that because I watched that scene again before I came down here, and I was like, how did that dude just not chop his head off? You know, like he's massive. Like what happened there?
He just misjudged like his
just
height,
missed
his
it.
distance. Like it
Yeah.
just threw him off. He's like, I got it. No, I missed it. It's kind
Right.
of like the
Yeah.
fly that's in front of you. Like you go to swat it and you just
True.
completely missed it.
Those
Yeah.
suckers are hard to hit open-handed while they're
That's
flying
true.
around.
But yeah, overall, really, really good season, and there's just a lot that goes on. But there's still, I think, with this season, this was like I obviously I don't quite remember, and I will have to see. I feel like this did the most touch points and kept everything moving that they've introduced, and then introduced new stuff at the same time. Like nothing felt unaddressed, like you kind of get in later seasons.
Right. Yeah.
And on a second watch through, kind of just picking up on, there are key things that are done in that finale episode where I could realize, like as a first watch through, you'd be like, you don't realize why it's important.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
on the second watch through, those finales, like where you, maybe on the first time you're like, well, that was the penultimate was way cooler. But you're like on the second watch through, when you know what's going on, you're like, wow, like they are
Setting up a
hinting
Yeah.
things here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that this show really benefits from multiple watch throughs, at least for me personally. And I don't know if if it's just me, but like I still catch stuff that I've watched this show maybe 4 or 5 times all the way through, and I'm still catching stuff that I didn't pick up in those first 4 or 5 watch throughs. So is this your second time, Nick, all the way
Yeah.
through? It is.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
you know
I
a lot about this shit for just being your second watch there.
I
He
have
takes
kind of like
notes.
I
Yeah,
have, you know, I maybe I don't remember. It was college, but I had to do a lot of catch up. It wasn't till 2014 or 13 I started watching it. So I got to watch like the first 3 seasons like just back to back. So maybe I watched them a couple times before the next season
okay, I
came
gotcha.
out, because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
4 is when I was like live with the show.
Yeah.
But also like, it's kind of like a steel trap in terms of like high fantasy stuff. Like it
Right.
just sticks in my
Sticks
brain.
in your brain, yeah.
Right.
So I cheat on that perspective.
Yeah. I just thought you made me almost spit water out of my nose with your. It was college. I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, geez. So this is random, but
Yeah.
I gotta say this now because before we went live, I was catching Nick up to speed on my coming off of medication talk from Thursday night, if you tuned in. And Chad came in right when I was in the middle of saying something like super weird. And then he asked what we were talking about, and I told him I would tell him after the intro, but then I forgot.
I've been waiting this whole time.
But yeah, so update. If you're tuned in Thursday, I had been on like an anti-anxiety medication for maybe close to a year. I don't know, a little less than a year. My prescription ran out, and I have like a checkup at the end of June. Just so you know, my regular doctor checkup. And at the checkup, I was going to, try to come off the medication because I feel like I'm in a good place now. And it's like a super low dosage. So when my prescription ran out, I was like, I should be fine. I don't need to like call the doctor and have him put another prescription in if I'm just going to like go there in like 3 weeks and just be like, I think I'm good. I don't need to be on this anymore. So I kind of just stopped taking it because, well, I don't have any to take. And on Thursday, I was talking about how like I just am tired all the time, like kind of get like dizzy spells and stuff. And I was telling Nick because I am in one of those weird like dizzy, lightheaded phases at the current moment. And I was talking to a former pharmacist friend this morning at church about it, and she was like, yeah, when people like are on a medication like that for a long period of time, like coming off cold turkey is similar to
terrible
like
idea.
drug addicts
Yeah.
like going through withdrawal. So I was like I was telling Nick, I was like, yeah, I feel like my soul is lagging behind my body in times like this where like I'll turn and it feels like it takes like half a second for like my eyes and the rest of my inner being to like follow my head. And I'll get like these weird like jolts of like energy, or it feels like, you know, I'm getting like a jolt of electricity go through my body. And that's when Chad walked in. Chad's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what's going on.
How long have you been off of it?
Probably a week, maybe a week and a half.
Wow, it's still going, huh?
Yeah, I looked up online and they said it could take anywhere from like 3 to 6 weeks. And I was like, oh, that would suck. And then I was talking to my pharmacist friend and I was like, even with like such a small dosage I was on, is it going to really be that long? And she's like, well, you were on it for like almost a year, so probably like another week or so. And I was like, I hate this so much.
That's brutal, dude.
So so that's what's going on in Mike's world. So if I feel, look, or sound like I'm loopy or out of it, I am paying attention, but I am also
delayed
in a different place.
So in a different place.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I feel like I'm Mike right now with the throat clear urge.
Yeah.
Because we had the cookout and the deck's off the back of the house, but also off the back of the house is this massive pine tree. And it is in prime, like if you if the branch just moves, pollen dust.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So
Dude.
I just feel like I am like pollen is just like in my esophagus right now.
The other night we were on the deck and like you could see a slight yellow film on the deck, and like Logan, our 10-month-old, was crawling and I picked her up and her knees just had like yellow on them, and I was like,
that time of
tomorrow
the year
is going to suck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this morning I could blow on like the table and it would just be dust, like chalk.
So basically what we're gathering here is we should probably just stay in our basements and record episodes, because I went outside, broke my ankle. Nick went outside, he's got some sort of anaphylactic shock from the pine tree.
Yeah.
Mike,
I'm basically like going through massive
withdrawals from his meds.
Don't leave your
I'm
house.
currently sweating but also freezing. So.
Yeah.
But that's also not a joke. I really am.
That's me all the time.
Sweating and freezing.
Yeah.
I need one of those like aluminum foil blankets that they give people, you know, that like are suffering hypothermia. I'm just like over here, I'm like, yeah, season 2 is really great, guys. I feel like Jon Snow over here.
Well,
anyways,
yeah, with that,
didn't mean to derail the entire
not at all
episode there.
Not at all. We gotta warm it up, you know.
It's your withdrawing brain. It's all right.
Yeah,
gotta warm it up. So gonna try this a little different than last time. We kind of like got through last time, but I feel like we're a little loose, so we're gonna tighten it up, just give a little bit more guidance here for ourselves, just because there's so much.
Right.
There's just so much. So I'm gonna start with episode 1 here from the wiki.
Good
just
place
kind
to
of
start.
The spark notes here. So the first episode is The North Remembers. Very fitting, right? Because that's
I gotta say,
common.
The episode titles in this season pretty cool.
Killer.
And I heard a lot of times where they said the title in the episode, and I was like,
"Yep,
what's that Leo DiCaprio meme? You know, where he leans forward on. Yep, he said the thing.
Yeah, he said the thing. He did the thing.
The North remembers is much better than your what did you say it was? Like the North never forgets or something like that. Was that you that said that in episode?
I think
1?
that was Mike.
Yeah, it was Mike.
Me?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Calling out episode titles? That's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys are crazy.
But The North Remembers. Obviously, throwback here because old Ned, Rip Ned, The North Remembers. And as we remember at the end of season 1, old King Robb Stark, the newly anointed King of the North, basically he's a full-bore war with the Lannisters and the boy King Joffrey, right? And going for the Iron Throne. And this episode largely picks up there. Tyrion, right? arrives in King's Landing from his adventures.
Yeah.
With
And
his
I got to stop you already.
No,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go for it.
Because I love this scene. A couple important things. You said that Rob's like at war, and you see what Joffrey's doing, and he's having like his name day and celebrating, in quotes.
Oh yeah.
Watching the Hound beat the crap out of some dude, right? But he also, and I can't remember this dude's name. The fool. It's like Sir. Can't remember his name.
We'll call him Sir Dum Dum.
But he's up next to fight, and he arrives, and he's like dropping his helmet. Clearly not a fighter. He's just there probably to try to make money or something. And Joffrey kind of thinks that he's drunk, so he asks him, "Hey, are you drunk?" And he's like, "No, I had 2 glasses of wine," which, for the record, would put me on my ass if I drank 2 glasses of wine.
Probably, especially back then, it was probably some potent,
yeah,
like really fermented stuff back.
Yeah,
then.
I will say I very rarely drink, but there's something about the show that just makes me want to drink wine, dude. And I think it's probably because everybody's drinking it in every scene.
The Lannisters.
Yeah, the Lannisters, man, they're just putting the wine down
because they are the best.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, Joffrey ends up torturing this guy. I just want you to remember this guy for later. He's an important character. But what the part of the scene that I love is Tyrion showing up and kind of taking control. And I don't know. Did that scene stand out to you guys? Just the way he rolls up and kind of tells Joffrey off and then walks away. And Joffrey's like, "What? Why are you here?" I just loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I love all of Tyrion's interactions with Joffrey this season.
Yeah.
Especially later on in later episodes we'll get to, but yeah, classic Tyrion with his smugness just comes in, tells Joffrey he's an idiot, walks away.
Right.
And maybe that's something else too, like the writing definitely in this season. Like there's so many of these dual character interactions that are just so good. And Tyrion here, he went from having really good conversations with Jon Snow, right? And now he's having really good conversations with well, not good conversations. They're really kind of like shitty conversations with his nephew.
Yeah.
And it escalates all throughout the season. I think that's my favorite thing about it too. And I think the thing with Tyrion is like he's so happy, right, that his like father gave him this duty, right? He kind of finally feels valued, right? But he also he says it later. He likes it when he has that conversation with Varys. Like he likes playing the game. And he's also well read and smart, and he knows a lot about this entire world.
Right.
So he has this very like humble, like I'm gonna do this right, or like it's just easy to him. Whereas like obviously Joffrey is the shitty little kid who just has too much power all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I think that Tywin even knows that Joffrey's kind of a shit show because when he sends Tyrion to King's Landing, he's like, "You'll wrestle them all together," and especially Joffrey if need be. So I think he knows. Like it's weird. It's weird to think about that kind of stuff. Like it seems like everyone around this world knows that Joffrey is not Robert Baratheon's son, but Robert didn't know that. You know what I mean? It's like people on the other side of the world in this world know this secret, but I think he was just drunk all the time. Probably didn't care,
Yeah. Well, and Tyrion, I mean, he said
very much like Nick's college years.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Doesn't remember.
Learned a ton of stuff. Very, very here for the job, but
Yeah.
But also, I mean, Tywin was kind of fed up with Cersei and just like how they handled the whole Ned situation. Like by no reason, like should Ned have died the way he did? And like Tywin knows this. And that's kind of like everyone knows this except Joffrey and his mother, who are just like out of control. Like she's trying to control the situation. Joffrey's uncontrollable.
Right. Yeah.
And I forgot how much like she admitted in this season that like he is uncontrollable and like she just has no power over him. And also she does say how shitty he is. I forget. It's a little later on. But...
Yeah. And he also does stuff behind her back, including something that's really screwed up that we're going to get to eventually. But you can tell that he's totally, even though he's been on this throne for I mean, time-wise, I don't know how much between season 1, season 2. He hasn't been on the throne very long. He's totally out of control, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, Cersei mentions that a lot throughout the show, actually, even later. So I think everybody knows, but nobody wants to do anything about it. It's like so weird because this guy's like a freaking monster. It's so odd to even think that maybe somebody like this existed in reality. And I'm sure this guy's based off of somebody. I'm sure Joffrey's based off of an actual character in history. I'd have to look it up. But
well, it's also hysterical because like, he can't do anything. Like you could just put your hand on his forehead and like he wouldn't be able to like stab you.
Right.
Smack him.
And literally the only people carrying out his psychopathic, like turdish ways are adults.
The
And
other
it's
people,
like,
right.
okay, everyone knows. I mean, obviously it wouldn't make for a good show, but
Yeah.
everyone knows this dude is a giant turd. Like, just don't do what he says. What's he gonna do?
Yeah, I gotta imagine that's just the setup of this whole system. You know what I mean? I'm sure the Kings didn't do much of any of the shitty shit that they did. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like any government. Like there are rules that are in place. Like the adults just can't be like, we're removing him because clearly it's shitty. But there's no real rule where we can act upon it.
Yeah.
So basically, while any of them could remove him, they're breaking rules. So if they're going to start breaking rules, when does that stop? And then the system really becomes like delegitimized more than it's already like in question because, he's struggling with the whole concept that the rumor is out there that he is not the heir, right? And
Right.
he gets that like cow pie thrown in his face. I don't know if that's this episode or not, but that was hilarious.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't this episode. That's further on in the season, but that was great.
Yeah.
He's just
it's just
kill
funny.
them all.
Yeah. It's just funny to me because he's almost like comedic. He's like so fakely evil. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'm saying that right. It just seems so over the top. How
he's like Farquaad from Shrek.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I love I mean, I hate Joffrey, but I love the character. I love the acting. I love the writing around him. He just seems like almost so over the top evil that you know what I mean?
But I think there's two ways you can approach a villain, and if done right, they're both amazing. I don't really find one better than the other. I think I prefer one over the other, but that's just personal preference and not like quality wise. But you can have a character like Joffrey that is very easy to despise, but because of how it's written and acted, and not just because, like, I don't know if I'm conveying this properly, but like, not because of the actor being bad or like the showrunners, the writers, and the actor portray this character in a way that makes you hate them. And then there's that route, just being like the lowest of the low, scummiest, of the scum, like just truly evil, detestable things. And then there's the other route where you have somebody like Killmonger from Black Panther, where very clearly villain doing villainous things, but coming from a place that's somewhat relatable that you can kind of understand why they got to the point that they have arrived to, and can kind of understand the motives behind their treachery. Like even Thanos, like obviously clearly a psychopath, wants to and did erase half of the universe, but there's like a shred of reasoning in his ideology where you're like, okay, this guy clearly is an evil villain, but I kind of understand where he's coming from. Not that I would execute, half of the known universe to achieve what he does. But like you either have like the completely like evilest of all evil villains that are so unrelatable, but written and portrayed in a way that's like very much despisable, in a good way.
Yeah.
Or you have the like relatable villains where you're like, wow, this person's really messed up, but like I get it, and like maybe I kind of understand their goal, but I do not align
Wouldn't take
myself
that
with their
path.
approach.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And of course, Joffrey's the former,
Obviously, yeah.
super evil.
I mean, even watching it multiple, like on a second time, he's unpredictable. Like all I can like really remember is like he just constantly does evil shit.
Yeah.
But I'm still like just very captivated by that character and like what he's doing. Because like
Right.
there's no rhyme or reason, and it's just like however the little gears in his head turn at that moment is what happens.
Yeah, and I think that those history and lore things kind of add to that. I can't remember which one. I think Joffrey talks in the second one. But you should definitely check those out because if you're listening to this and watching with us, you should go watch those because they do add a lot of lore and background to things that are going on. But I think to go back to the system wise, like, yeah, this guy's super evil, right? And he's doing evil crap in front of everybody. However, nobody wants to take him out, but there's a good reason because if they fail to do so, they're literally lining the walls with people's heads that they've cut off. You know what I mean? So they're going to be up there if they fail to remove him from his power. So, and I think Cersei's even wary of his power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a necessary evil to Cersei. Like the point is like she must remain in power, whatever is best for the family, all that.
Yeah.
And that's just the unfortunate, like, he's the next one. So I guess we're going to roll the dice here.
Yeah, right. Okay, go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is also cool that they continuously do this, and this is something I'm picking up on the second time. Meanwhile, over on Dragonstone, right, we get a new castle, a new location, and a new character here who's a pretty important character overall. And we meet Stannis Baratheon. Basically, that is Robert Baratheon's brother, old Stan, old Stanny boy.
Stan the man.
Yeah, so he's basically in league with the priestess. She's the Red Lady,
Melisandre. Yep.
Yeah, Melisandre. She worships a specific of the 7 gods of the new gods.
Okay, I wanted to ask about this. So this is one of the gods. This isn't like a new version of these gods that they worship, or like what's going on here?
I don't believe that it's one of the 7 gods. I could be wrong. I don't believe so because it's like Smith, Mother. I can't remember all the names of it, but this is like the fire god that she's praying to. So I think it is a totally different religion. But I really enjoy this because this is one of the, and we're skipping ahead a little bit here, but this is one of the religions where you see that whatever she's doing is actually working versus the old gods and the new gods where we just pretty much hear about them. They're not really doing much of anything, right? So I really, really enjoy that aspect of it. Stannis is so weird to me because
he's a weird character.
He is a very odd character, and I think it's because he's so tunnel focused on getting the Iron Throne that nothing else really matters to him. And we'll see later that like that's his main focus, right? Nothing around him is going to stand in his way. So,
R'hllor, known as the Lord of Light, Heart of Fire, God of Flame and Shadow, she says all this repeatedly. Prominent god in Essos, which is the eastern continent, only has a few followers in Westeros, which we see because it's kind of like a foreign. It's like, oh, you're one of them,
right? And I really like that aspect of it, especially with the Maester at Dragonstone, where he tries to poison her essentially because he's, everyone around him is turning their back on the gods that they grew up with. So, back to Stannis, I did read like a hilarious thing that said that like he had no idea what was going on in the show. Like he would constantly ask for people to tell him his lines or explain the story to him, and things that you would think that a actor that's going to do a good job portraying a character would need to know. You know what I mean? And it's so weird because I think honestly, dude, he's like one of my favorite performances on the show, if I'm being honest. So just now knowing that, I almost can't watch his scenes anymore because I'm like, he doesn't even know what the hell's going on.
Well, it's like podcasting with Nick this entire time.
Yeah.
That's a really cool detail because that really makes sense because when you watch some of his scenes or every other scene, like he just seems like disconnected from what you would expect his reaction to be. But at the same time, that plays up his portrayal of that character
Yes.
as
Yeah.
like this dude, like his mind just like fixates on like something. And
that's it.
all
Yeah.
context aside, like that's his new tone. And that
Right.
totally makes sense if that's the way the actor did it,
Yeah.
because that's what happens.
Yeah, and
Now,
it's
do you
hilarious.
think it was like intentional, or he's just bad at his job?
Sounds like bad at his job.
Unprepared.
It just
It
worked.
sounds bad at his job, but with the character that he portrayed, it ended up mixing to a beautiful performance from him, I think. And it's funny because,
Unless someone told him that he's like he's being lured in by a religious zealot, and he's like, okay, so basically all context aside, this is, I guess, shouldn't know anything else about the show.
yeah.
Like I need to
Yeah.
go in kind of blind. Maybe
Yeah,
he's
if I
brilliant.
was him, I would just be like, "Oh, totally method actor." Yeah,
Yeah,
method actor.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
I've just been on this island all by myself. I have no
Yeah.
idea what's going on. So that's it. That was what was going on.
Melisandre tells me things.
Yeah.
Reassures me that the red
Shows
god
me her
is the way.
boobies, and then
Yeah,
I
good.
listen.
Yeah.
Bobs, all that stuff.
So yeah, I think this is also a really important location as well. I think we do see it in the House of the Dragon trailer as well. They're at
Yes.
Dragonstone, so we're gonna see it again, which is really cool. But yeah, I how do you guys take Stannis? I was like looking forward to his introduction in the show for whatever reason, and I do remember the first time watching it not liking the story. So I don't know, Mike, if you enjoy the story your first watch through, but
I think the story started out like random to me. But this arc finished very strong, obviously. But yeah, I feel like the way that the story as a whole plays out, a lot of what is happening now seems random to me, in my mind at least. Like, the king's dead, so it would make sense that all these people would want to like throw their hat in the ring, so to speak,
right,
or play at the throne. But I'm not really used to that approach in a show. Usually shows or movies are a little more focused on one thing or another.
yeah,
But like this series, it's like everyone who has some sort of interest in the throne has an arc like right away.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay, we got another person who wants the throne. But then it played out into being a very important arc throughout the entire season, and a very interesting one, to say the least. And also had one of my sleeper favorite characters from the season, and that being like his hand or like
Davos.
servant
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, love that guy.
Yeah, awesome character. Yeah, I think that I think it's just the buildup from season one, because you hear about Stannis a lot through season one, specifically at the end where they're talking after Robert dies, who the throne, and you don't see him at all in season one, which I thought was brilliant.
I think that's the other thing, is there were so many characters introduced in season one that I had heard Stannis so many times, but then I was like, who the heck's this guy?
Yeah, right.
They literally said his name like 300 times in season one, but
Yeah.
there was just so many characters thrown at me.
Yeah, that's why I think doing these episodes is going to be very good for you, because you're going to be, piecing through it together with us, because there is a lot to miss for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was smart not to introduce him in season one, because like that wasn't the point.
Right.
There's a lot of other things kind of going on. So the fact that he plays a pivotal role in this very narrow like couple months of the timeline, and obviously leading into the penultimate episode and all of that, it was nice that they tried to maybe make it easier to watch for viewers. I mean, what would they would have just like bumped up the same intro, and then you would have forgotten about him and be like, oh yeah, that's right, this guy, he's doing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's just odd altogether. And mostly it's like the characters around him, and he does carry a weight. He is cool in that sense that like he is pretty seasoned, much like Ned, much like Robert, much like Tywin. Like he's of that kind of greatest generation of Westerosians. And that I did get from the lore video. And I just want to kind of toss this out. He was always bitter that like Robert and Ned got to like ride around the Seven Kingdoms being the heroes, and he held down
Yeah, he had
Dragonstone.
like the crummiest job.
Storm's End. Yeah,
Storm's End.
Yeah.
Like with like a low number of guys, and just like held it down, and that was like key to like them staying afloat. And then he gets no like shine, and then what pisses him off is that his younger brother Renly, Robert, basically gives him Storm End and all that crap.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting, because that whole story is super interesting. I wish we were to see like a flashback of it, because it sounds like it was pure hell for these guys, right? I mean, they were out of food. The blockade.
Davos had to bring them onions on a boat.
Yeah,
like that's why Davos is so cool. And I'm like, that's a rough situation if like someone's got to smuggle onions into the fortress, and now I'm happy because I get to eat onions.
Right, right.
Pretty gross.
Yeah, and
they go into that in the episode itself, like when in that conversation between Stannis and Davos, where he's like, "Yeah, dude, we had to like first we ate the cats, which was fine because I don't really like cats, but then there were dogs and I like dogs, but then there were rats, and it's just it's like, man, this guy had it rough." So I totally get. See, he's kind of the other end of the villain spectrum that we were talking about. Like, after you hear that story, you're like, okay, it understands why he's like so dead set on like this, because he earned it. But like, again, maybe like, let's not do it this way. But he has no choice because Joffrey is there, and what are they gonna do? So you kind of root for him a little bit, even though I don't know. How do you feel with your feelings towards Stannis and his claim? Like, for me, I hate Joffrey, but I like Tyrion. So I was like, I don't want you to succeed because Tyrion's there. And if you succeed, that means something's probably going to happen to him. But I really hate Joffrey, and I would love anyone to get the throne over Joffrey.
Well, to your whole comment about like how Stannis is the other type of villain, it's great because it's almost like those are just types of characters, and there are no like villains or heroes in this show, because in one light, Stannis is kind of like the villain. Like, he's the bad guy that's coming to take the city, but at the same time, he's about
taking
to take
it from another
like,
bad guy.
Literally the most like the opposite, right? He's the other type of villain. So it's like the one bad guy coming after the other bad guy.
Yeah.
His claim, I think legally, in terms of the truth, is the right claim. That's the thing. Like, he has the correct claim. He is Robert's oldest brother, and he has it over Renly. Like, Robert had it wrong, and all that. Like, he has the correct claim to the throne, because Robert has no legitimate sons. Technically, there is a better one, but in terms of like known heirs, he has the technically correct heritage.
Yeah, that's super interesting though, because like how would that work with like, so Robert technically usurped the throne from you know what I mean? It just gets very muddled and twisted, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Because Daenerys technically
they need like some good lawyers.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, so for work, I do a lot of stuff with people's estates. So, Robert's will is up in question. So we're just going to consider him dying intestate. So if you follow the laws of intestate succession, I mean, Nick's totally right.
Right.
Stannis just needs a good attorney.
Yeah.
Go into court there. Just be like, listen here, guys. Whip out the scroll. Be like,
gets a spear through his calf.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then his head mounted on the wall.
Yeah, true. I guess last time someone tried to do it the legitimate way.
Right.
That didn't.
Ned tried.
Didn't
He tried that.
He did.
He's like, I got the paperwork. I've got everything lined up. Like, I filed everything, paid my fees.
Yeah.
And I still died.
And he still died, right?
So that's a good point,
paid
Mike.
My fees.
Yeah. But it is interesting. Like that throne is technically the Targaryens, right? Because they forged
it. Like, yes, but they were successfully usurped and thrown to the wind.
Yeah.
So in terms of conquest, that's why I think war outweighs like succession. So obviously, like, regardless of who thinks what's what, if Stannis rolls up and he's like, I'm going to kick all your asses and put myself on the throne, he is the new whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like lines of succession, and then obviously war trumps all,
Right.
killing everyone. So that usually fixes the problem.
It usually fixes it, yeah.
Of question. Or if you're, a Targaryen, you just kind of get your dragons and just melt everything.
Right.
Because
Also
inversely, they showed up from elsewhere to Westeros and just made all of the Seven Kingdoms either bend the knee or get melted by dragonfire.
Yeah. And we see some of that through season 2 here, and it's super cool to see the kind of past bruises and scars that Westeros has taken from these other wars.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I thought the same thing, Mike, when I was watching the history of like England with the Last Kingdom. I was like, technically those Saxons, like they're from freaking like northern Germany. Like the Britons are the only people that were originally there from like Roman times. So technically the Saxons don't really have like claim, like none of them are the originals. So
yeah,
all that funny stuff, and then people just make it all up, and
yeah,
whoever has the bigger sword wins.
It's just an interesting system,
Cool, but yeah, that's Stannis. Interesting, and we also, we get the mysterious Melisandre. She's
Are
creepy.
We still on episode 1?
Oh yeah.
We're 50 minutes into the episode.
Welcome.
All right, we only got, what's this? It's going to be a 500-minute episode.
Yep, probably.
So across the sea, Daenerys and her 3 young dragons, very alive, very active, right? We get to see them a lot. They're hanging out on her and around her. So this is one thing I like about this season a lot, because you get to see a lot of living dragons in a show, which you don't have often.
Right.
In a very different manner too. Like we have to watch these dragons grow up.
Yeah, and it's super cool because Joffrey is a sweet boy.
In timeout.
I also really like. I hate to lock us back to this first episode, but I really like the use of the comet throughout the episode, where you're seeing it up in the sky and you're seeing it. Everybody's seeing it. Every character seeing it. Could you imagine like being back there and seeing that freaking thing up in the sky? Like that had to be horrifying, right? Like just looking up, like what the hell is that thing?
Yeah. Well, that's cool. They all have their different
and they all have their different theories. Yeah. And I think that's such a cool way to do the episode.
I kind of forgot about the comet. Does it come back into play?
No, it's just used in that
kind of the
opening
first
sequence.
Yep. Yeah.
Just all right. Yep, that was the thing.
Yeah.
I think it was just a cool thing to use as like they look up in the sky and then they look down and here's a different group of characters and look up at the sky. Yeah. I just thought it was a cool imagery. And then my thought of like what those people must have actually thought back then when they saw shit like that, you know? So
but yeah, she's moving through the Red Waste with her band, her tribe, who is left of it. And the Red Waste, they're in search of allies or water, ships. Like they're just in a really tough spot because they couldn't go the other way because that was what are they called?
They're pretty much surrounded by people that would kill them and take the dragons. So they don't have much option.
They're basically moving deeper east through the Red Waste.
That's right. They're giant desert.
Yeah, giant desert. They're just moving east, which is actually further and further away from Westeros.
Anakin's worst nightmare.
Yeah. Just desert.
So
not a lot happening there. They're just like on a journey there, dying. In the north, where it's a lot cooler and there's snow, Bran presides over Winterfell, and then beyond the wall, Jon Snow and the Night Watch continue their hike through the snow. So outside of
this is what I got confused in the last episode. I thought this was still in season 1.
Yep.
It's definitely in season 2. Sorry about that. Apologies.
No, you're good.
Man, you put up such aggression towards it.
I know,
too.
I did. I was like, no.
I only watched season 1.
Yeah. My bad. Bad job.
Yeah. Got a couple treks going on here. Trek through the desert, trek through the snow. Not much else happening outside of that. Some really good dialogue, but a little bit of learning. And that puts us into episode 2.
Yeah.
We're going to make it, guys. This one's called The Nightlands. So this there was a purge in the capital because of the alleged Baratheon children, and they were just knifing babies.
Dude, just brutal scenes, right?
Yeah.
I get that this is like really screwed up for to show this kind of stuff. A, it happened 100%. You can read about it. B, just the way they did it, where they showed that soldier turn around with the blood on his face, and you could tell he's just like straight PTSD, horrified by the stuff, and he's like holding the baby by the way they did this whole sequence. It's startling for sure to see this happen in a show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to show because of another character that is being hunted for this purpose, right?
Yep.
So this was also what I was talking about, that Joffrey did seemingly without Cersei's knowledge. He just went ahead and did it, which I thought was interesting. It's showing that he's not the mama's boy that she maybe hopes that he would be on the throne. But yeah, what'd you guys think about this whole scene? Like, was it shocking?
So essentially,
Jordan, you're terrible.
Essentially, like, this is kind of like the first like shell shock of this season, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're gonna have this quick a montage of just babies getting knifed throughout the city. And yeah, it was basically his way of, because he is disturbed by these other rumors of like his uncle and his mother,
Right.
Like, this can't possibly be true. And how even worse, like, that aside, like, I'm not king. Is that what we're trying to say here? Because that's just the most offensive thing you could ever say to this young man.
Yeah.
So
I wondered if it was that purpose where he just wanted to get rid of all the bastards so that they didn't have a claim, even though they wouldn't. That's not how it works.
right.
Even though, or he is trying to get rid of all of the bastards so they can't see that they all have dark hair and look nothing like Joffrey. You know what I mean? Or if it's like a combo of both.
I don't think he put that much thought into it. I think he was just pissed.
He's like, my dad has more kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it was rough though. Like, like, I think I said this at some point in the life cycle of Showboys, but after becoming a parent, seeing anything happen to kids in shows and movies is like excruciating to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it just shows you the brutality of Joffrey, but also like of the times, right? Because I'm sure that wasn't a very uncommon thing in these types of
This is why when people tell me like things are so terrible, I'm like, things are net better. Like,
right.
I'm the whole timeline, like, things are net better.
Yes, for sure.
Net gain.
Yeah, like I told you in the book I read about the War of the Roses, that there was a baby that was murdered in its crib because it was next in line for succession for the throne. So yeah, this stuff happened, unfortunately. But yeah, I would agree with Nick. Things are definitely net better compared to where we came from.
And kind of like in light of that, so like there's that, and then we get, and this is actually another great Tyrion convo duo. Him and Cersei have a few conversations this season, and this is kind of like the first one where he's kind of lecturing her on like, why are things so out of hand right now? Like, he killed Ned. He's literally murdering children. The King's Guard is just wandering around the city murdering children. And
it's not
furthermore,
great publicity.
Yeah, and furthermore, there's just general strife in the city because of just, he's not a good ruler.
Right.
And Tyrion just has hand of the king. Like, it's his responsibility to kind of clean this up. But he's just hoping like for some sort of support from his sister, who should have some sort of sway as mother to the king.
You would think, yeah. But I think that, I mean, if I'm being honest with you kind of see like maybe in season 1 when Joffrey first gets the throne, you can almost think like, okay, Cersei's on the throne. Like it's not Joffrey. Right. He's just the body. But this season 2 totally changes that, where it's like she doesn't have the power she thought she was going to have.
He definitely Dikembe Mutombo Cersei.
Yeah.
He's like,
I almost feel like Tywin like slightly thought the same. Like at some point he expressed that, where he's like, Cersei's there, like we're gonna put Joffrey there, everything's gonna be okay-ish.
Right.
But then, he's kind of pissed, like, I guess not. That didn't go at all as I planned. Or I'd had hope.
Tywin and Tyrion are both like, Joffrey's not going to pull well at the next midterm here if we're going to keep this up. So we need to definitely do some damage control.
Yeah, for sure.
Damage control. But yeah, basically King's Landing is just in a whole lot of strife. We move on here. And this is related. We move on to the road north, where Arya is rolling with Gendry, who is the legitimate bastard son, and the eldest, I would say.
He's got the cool bull's helm.
Yeah, I think probably the eldest. There were a couple of kids that were a little bit older in that montage, but not as old as Gendry, I don't think. So yeah. And this was the character I was talking about, where it was important to show what was happening because he's now being hunted for the same order from Joffrey.
Yeah, and they're rolling with the Night Watch because doing the whole Night Watch recruitment thing. But this is where the Kingsguard are hunting. They're looking for this guy with the bull helmet. That's how they describe him. And in that, I forget exactly how it unfolds, but Arya spills the beans on like who she is to Gendry. And I think that's because they were kind of in that moment of like, she's putting together like they're looking for you. She thought they were looking for her.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
And they kind of like sorted that out, and they're not who they claim to be.
Right. And I thought that was cool. Yeah. You can see that they're starting to get closer. And I think Gendry eventually calls her out for it. Like, for not being a boy, which she is trying to pretend to be.
Yeah.
And that's when she spills it. But I love these characters together, to be honest with you. I think that this storyline, I don't want to say it's maybe top 3 for the season for me, just because we don't like.
You know how many there are?
I don't know how many.
I couldn't even tell you what. Like,
oh yeah,
there's so many.
Yeah, I assume there's like far 19. More than. Yeah, there's far more than 3. So
top 20.
I don't know. I just really like their interaction, and I really like Arya's arc in this, and we'll get to that eventually. Some of the best scenes involve her. So
yeah, I think the trio of Arya, Gendry, and the chubby kid,
Hot Pie,
hilarious.
Yeah.
Chubby kid.
Yeah, I do. I would say, definitely top 3 for arcs here, especially things that happen in later episodes, and the man that she meets.
Yes.
Yeah. He also is probably my favorite character of the season.
Without question, yeah, for me.
Yeah,
I mean, Tyrion's up there because Tyrion's great throughout this entire season, but there's just something about him, man, that I don't know what it is. We'll get to it eventually, but
yeah. But basically, the Night Watch guy, he like denies the Kingsguard. He just basically tells them like shove off, bunch of dorks. But then they roll back in kind of like a night raid on their little camp, and
rip.
he lays waste to like a ton of them, which is awesome. More like these Night Watch guys are just no joke, and they show that all throughout. Like they don't mess around.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And he wrecks a ton of them, but they're ultimately captured. Unfortunately, not by the Kingsguard though. Or how did that play out?
They are captured by Lannister soldiers, I believe.
Right, but when did they get captured? Not in that scuffle, right?
Yeah, it was in that scuffle at the end. They all got surrounded, and the one Lannister soldier stabs the dude that hurt his leg with needle, Arya's sword. And then Arya tells everybody that that's Gendry that you just killed right there. And luckily, by the grace of the gods, the bull helmet was sitting right next to this guy, so it played out perfectly. But yeah, that's where they're captured at the end of that scuffle.
But so is that why they didn't go back with the Kingsguard? Because they thought like he got killed, like the target,
Yep.
so the rest of them just go off to Harrenhal, which we'll
Harrenhal.
talk about here in a bit.
Yep.
Pretty
Okay.
rad location.
Yeah, very rad location.
Yeah.
Mega rad.
Bringing that word back, by the way.
Oh yeah. We get a quick bit where just Dany is sending her scouts out, right? Sent 3 riders basically in 3 directions and was like, we need to figure something out here because we're gonna die.
Right.
And that's just like a slight move forward there. And then we kind of like pan over to Theon here, who starts to take kind of a pretty big role in this season. And to Mike's dismay, not a net gain on his character points.
Theon Grey Nuts. Hate this guy.
So after 9 years, like he spent 9 years as a ward of the Starks in their care.
Okay. Also, sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
No,
but I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It's another Stan situation. Like, I hate everything Theon's doing here, but I kind of get it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude's had a sucky life. Like, he's basically given to the Starks as like a prisoner in a truce from this, old conflict.
Yep.
Finally goes back home, and his dad is like, "Oh, you think you're all cool? One of those Starks, one of those Northerners." He's like,
"Fancy boy,
bro, you gave me to them. Like, I am back now." Like,
yeah,
I feel bad for Theon, but I also don't let that excuse the treachery that he commits.
That he commits. Yeah, I think that it's interesting because and I think Kat even tries to stop Robb from sending him back to like Robb up until this point has like won every battle. You can tell he's got the military mind, right?
He's got the mojo.
He's got the mojo going on.
He's definitely feeling the Robb swag too. He's like, okay,
oh yeah,
I'm in a groove here.
And I also I love Robb Stark, especially through the season, because he's just the way he treats his soldiers, just the way he treats the wounded of the other army. You know what I mean? Like he's just a great.
Well, the ladder there, he's just trying to look good in front of Bay. You know
that could be.
Like,
yeah, it could be.
Bay, for sure.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, this just seems like so out of character and a mistake for him to do this. Like he had to know that this wasn't going to turn out well, even though Theon pretty much bent the knee to him and gave him a sword in season 1 there during the King of the North scene.
He's basically his brother, and I don't think Robb is exactly privy. Like I feel like that's something Ned would have shielded him a little bit of, like, don't trust those dirty Greyjoys and never trust. Like he was more like Robb, like Theon's your brother, treat him as such. Like Ned instilled more of that, like, and I'm pulling some of this from the histories bit, but like the way like Catelyn described it, like in that situation, Ned made it so maybe perhaps someday the Iron Islands will have a good king, and that will be Theon.
Right.
So Robb is completely the goodness of Ned, and that's why I think he just did not question the complications of what happens when you send a ward of 9 years, a young boy, back to his father and his home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You bring up a good point there for sure. Definitely.
But yeah, he sends him back, and this is, I feel like he did that in season 1 toward the end that he sent Theon, because I somehow like every time like miss this, like what, like I forget about it, then I'm like, oh yeah, Theon's going back to, he just shows up, right?
Yeah.
Gets weird with his sister.
Oh yeah, and that's,
you know,
and I don't know, like I feel more grossed out by his sister knowing that was her brother the whole time.
Right.
Should have test him.
Yeah, you'll see. Yeah, you'll see.
Rowdy.
She's an odd one for sure.
She's a character.
Yeah, what a little twist there, huh? And I love his face. He's like, Yara?
Yeah. And he's also like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Freaking sicko.
But I really, really enjoy Balon, and this whole sequence, the iron price and the gold price stuff is just so cool. You know what I mean?
Good
just seeing how
it too.
Yeah, just seeing how
that up.
Right. Just seeing how different places throughout the world do things so differently. You know what I mean?
I hate him though, because I'm like, dude, Theon literally did not have a choice. Why are you like hating on him so much?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come on, dude.
Yeah, I just love I just love Balon. I don't know what it is. Just like the I will not have my son dressed as a whore. I just love it. He rips that thing off of him. It's so good.
He's kind of a. I mean, they're kind of like pirates, but they're a little bit more formalized pirates.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I take him for sure.
And the iron price, right? Like it's almost like walking the plank, or they don't play by all these other weird fancy rules. Like you're going to pay the iron price, and that comes in a heavy way later on.
Yeah, it does, and it's interesting with the agreement that Rob sent him there for, where they give him the ships or whatever, and he gets to be king of the Iron Islands again. And he's just like, I take my throne. Like, Rob, did you not know that's how these people are? You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to let you give them anything. They want to take it. That's how you got to know that that's knowledge throughout the world that these guys are like.
Has he had to? Like, has he had
Kat,
these people?
His mom was warning him against that without like explicitly maybe saying it. Like she's being a bit more abridged. Like you just can't trust them. And that's what she was getting at. But also he is like a 20-year-old that just had like everyone bend the knee to him and just made him king. So he's just like, this is easy. Everyone's just going to be happy with what I decide.
Yeah.
So he's definitely being naive, to Chad's point. Like he's just kind of, it's like, very present. Like everything around him immediately is going right for Rob, but he is unable to see the projections of what's beyond his eyes that can't be controlled.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the first of those, is where he's like, Theon, you're going to go do this thing. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to go to war with the Lannisters. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Yeah. I mean, I think it could come out of just a need for those ships. You know what I mean? Where he's just like, I mean, we got to try something. And Theon's here is what it is. Obviously, it bites him in the ass, but it could just be like risk taking that he needed to take. You know what I mean? To try and get these ships. But I don't know. It just felt out of character for Rob, for me personally.
Yeah. But I just, once again, I mean, from my point of view, like it's something he's just not thinking about. And like neither.
You got a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, it's just one of those things that just the twist.
Well, like up until this point, like Theon's always been like there. He hasn't shown any reason to not trust him to Rob.
Right.
So I think like that thought probably didn't even enter Rob's mind as a possibility.
Yeah.
I gotta be right back, but I'm gonna leave you guys to discuss Davos here and that whole little interaction to wrap up this episode.
Okay. So yeah, tell me your thoughts on Sir Davos, because you did say he was your favorite character, right, Mike?
Yeah, he was definitely one of them, and I think it's because he's kind of like the middleman between what are those people called with the chains?
Maester.
Okay, yeah. So he's like the middleman between the Maester and Stannis. Or he's like, Maester, bro, I get it. I understand. But then also he's like, but this is also like our leader.
Right.
So we kind of got to roll with the punches here.
Yeah.
And then like throughout the rest of the season, I don't know, he just is a cool dude.
He is.
And seems like a very loyal dude, like the kind of guy that I would want at my side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so he was a smuggler, and like we said, he was the reason that Stannis survived basically through the entire Storm's End thing. He was able to, and I can't remember. I think it was the Tyrells had a blockade on Dragonstone. He was able to get through there and get the onions. That's why they call him the Onion Knight. So when you hear him calling the Onion Knight, that's why.
It's a pretty rad title.
Yeah, so he actually recruits an old buddy, and this guy's like a pirate basically. And his name is Salador Sam or something like that. Salador San or something. And I love this dude. I don't know. He's not by any stretch of the imagination an important character in the show. I just love this character. Like the way he talks, the way he's motivated, everything about him. I just wish we got more of this guy throughout the show. it's just, he basically is trying to get this guy's fleet of ships in order to take Stannis to King's Landing to invade. And this dude's only motivated. He's a pirate, so he's motivated by money and being able to sleep with the queen afterwards.
Yeah. I forgot, to be honest, when you started talking, I was like, who the heck is he talking about? But then I was like, oh yeah, because he's only in the show for like 2 minutes.
Very short. Yeah. And I just love that Salador Sam, the pirate that Sir Davos
they get the ships from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just saying I wish that we could get more of that character because we don't get a whole lot of him throughout the show. But there's just something about him. It's just like, I don't know. I just like the way he talks and the way he's motivated by like just money and women. you know what I mean?
Classic pirate.
So so basically after that we meet Melisandre and Stannis in the throne, or not the throne room, but like the map room? That's
like the giant map room. It's so cool. Table. And this is exactly a feature that they added to Valheim that I love so much. Just a big map table, man.
Big map table, yeah.
That's the cartography table.
Yeah. So basically, she's very seductive throughout the entire show, Melisandre, and you can see that multiple different times. But she's basically telling Stannis that she will give him a son. Stannis doesn't have a son. And it's just weird because she's feeding him all this information that he clearly knows, right? Like your wife disgusts you and she's weak and she's giving you nothing but illness and weakness. And eventually Stannis, being the weird character that he is, succumbs to it, and they end up
sounds good.
Yeah, they end up banging on the map table there. So
also probably painful because their map tables not exactly even surfaces, and they also have their little like figures.
But I think I think the imagery there is really, really cool because you'll see that throughout his arc, Melisandre is there. So you'll see as she has seduced him on this table and he's cheating on his wife essentially. All the parts on the map are dropping off, like those don't matter anymore because he's focused on this fire witch. So I thought that was super cool imagery there. But yeah, tell me what you thought of Stannis's interaction with Melisandre.
Well, now that I know how he method acted this, definitely he was like, they prepped him. And then he heard the lines delivered, and he was like, "That's super convincing. Wow,
yeah,
sure, like, let's go."
Right.
All context aside, like,
right. Yep, absolutely.
No
I
question.
also love just everyone's way to solve problems in this universe is just like, you don't want to do it, okay, but what if you see my boobs?
Yeah,
all of it.
And like they just can't they can't resist. They're like, God, he got me. I was really trying, but how can I say no to that?
And the crazy thing about this too, in like hindsight, is like you're like, oh, this is spicy. Like he's gonna probably have a kid and all that the usual, right? And then
he has something
nothing usual comes out of this. It's
nothing.
Very highly, highly unusual. And I would even say this is probably one of the more unusual. What comes of this is more unusual than most everything in the series.
Yes.
To me, this was just
shockingly
ultra unusual.
Yeah, little did he know that the lady in red is actually an octopus.
Yeah,
I don't know what.
Yeah,
poor Davos, man. Like, he's there till the end with Stannis.
He's just along with the ride.
Loyal, but he's seen some shit.
Yep, for sure. And then we end episode 2, I think is where we're at, right?
Yep.
With a very important thing, I think, which is back north of the wall with Jon at Crasser's Keep, which is the guy that we breezed over in the first episode of the series.
Daughters.
Yeah, he's basically Walder Frey, the guy that had the bridge in the first season, but just north of the wall, right? He marries, or he has sex with his daughters to have more daughters in a very small house. Yeah.
No castle.
Yeah, no castle whatsoever. And he's
and
very
no one to marry them off to.
Right. Yeah.
Except himself.
But the thing that's different here versus Walder Frey is that we see that there's only daughters, and that's odd, right? And then even John and Samwell talk about it, like what's he do with the sons? Like he has to have sons eventually, right? Yeah. And we do see at the end of this episode what he does with his sons is John kind of follows him out into the woods with a baby he's carrying and watches him put him down in the snow and walk away. And some sort of creature, which we know are White Walkers at this point, come and take the baby. And he kind of gets knocked out, I think, right? By Craster. Craster catches him spying and knocks him out.
Yep.
So that's important for seasons from now, probably.
He's definitely not a fan of Jon Snow. We'll just throw that out there.
No, not a fan.
But I do like what's the commander dude's name? I forget. Mormont.
Yep.
Mormont. But yeah, the entire time Mormont's like, yeah, this dude is a scumbag. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, but he's like also the only one that kind of like takes care of us while we're out here. So
right. We need
like
him.
A necessary evil. Just do what he says.
Yeah.
You're really making this hard on me there, Mr. Snow.
Yeah.
And I do like later how that gets used against Jon Snow, that he got like taken out by the old man.
Yep.
Just little stuff like that's always good.
I think I appreciate. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, you're good.
But I appreciate the practicality of most characters' drives and motives in the show.
That's true.
Like it's totally reasonable. Like, dude is a commander of a bunch of people who live in a very isolated, unforgiving part of the world. And when he has to go out in this area, like this guy will supply him with what he needs. Like, does he have to give up some nice axes and steel every once in a while and let this guy get away with the debauchery that he does? Yeah, sadly, but also like this guy gives them food and shelter when they're out in the frozen tundra.
And it should be fairly safe from like any stray White Walkers while you're around here too, because you're basically with the guy who pays tribute to them.
Yeah, exactly.
And babies.
Right.
But it's like a thing you see across all different kinds of characters in the show. And I just think it's cool because like, people live in practicality all the time, and it's cool to see that.
Children
definitely.
under 1 year old really have it rough this season.
Very much.
This
so.
is like the third thing.
I think it's just kids in general. The show is very
so there's something like
pro kid.
We're 2 episodes in, and like King's Landing, stabbing all the babies. We got Craster here giving away the babies.
Yeah,
and then we got coming up here, Melisandre and her child.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, bizarre. But episode 3, what is dead may never die. Very good. Iron Islands
saying. Yeah,
it'd be a really cool band name.
What is dead may never die.
Yeah, death metal, of course.
We have Lady Catelyn Stark is arriving at King Renly's camp to negotiate an alliance. Here we get introduced to a slew of characters, absolute slew of characters that just. I didn't realize they all got just kind of dropped in here, and I'm wondering if this is like one where there's a bunch that were in the first book and these got saved for season 2.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
but they are a pocket of characters that kind of work together. For a while. But King Renly here, this is Robert Baratheon's youngest brother, Stannis Baratheon's brother. He is married to Marjorie. What's their last name?
Tyrell.
The Tyrells, right? And we see pretty quickly that things aren't quite normal in that marriage.
To say the least.
So is this the episode that starts out with the
Tournament.
Lannister soldiers like sitting there in the dark, and they're like basically being like, okay, who would win in a fight, the Mountain or the Hound or whatever, and they're going through all the people.
I don't think so. No, this
Do you
one
know
starts.
what episode I'm talking about? Though?
Yeah.
That opening.
Yep.
Since we're talking about Renly here and that whole situation, I love when they what's his like Kingsguard lover? What's his name?
Loras Tyrell.
Loras, yeah. Well, when they're like when they go through the line, they're like the Mountain, the Hound, you know, Jaime Lannister, and then they throw out his name, and they're like, oh no, I don't think he'd win. And the other guy's like, oh, but he's like the finest swordsman in the land or whatever. And the other guy's like, he's been stabbing Renly for years now, and he's not dead yet. I literally peed my pants. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, love it.
There's some good humor written into this show.
Yeah. Oh,
full
for
of
sure.
all the
And
other
then we
stuff.
even had like a classic fart joke there too, where he's like, they're like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear that? Out in the woods, what's coming?" And then the dude just rips a massive fart.
Yeah.
Look at you guys over there.
Well, wait. I mean, that's the quick battle where Rob ambushes him and captures Jaime. But that's later, right?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't capture Jaime. Jaime's
it's just
captured.
a battle.
It's just a battle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. But there's a tournament here. Basically, they're celebrating Renly being king before he's king, right?
Yeah, I think they're celebrating the marriage.
Yeah.
It could be.
So we have this tournament here, and this is where Mike's favorite character.
Oh, this is it.
This is
Brienne,
it.
huh?
Brienne
really?
of Tarth.
Wow.
Yeah, she's
I was gonna guess Marjorie or Melisandre. I didn't think it was Melisandre because he didn't say anything.
No. I know someone that looks just like Marjorie too, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, so Brienne of Tarth, we worked with her.
Identical.
We worked with her.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not even joking.
Wow.
It's uncanny.
You know, she's I mean, I'm sure you do know this, but you know she's Captain Phasma as well in Star Wars.
I did not know that, but that's awesome.
Yeah,
I was talking with my neighbor before coming down here, and we were talking about Brienne and like how clunky her movement is,
her walking, and
like, is that intentional?
Or
is that just how she is as an actual human?
Yeah, I think that's how she is, but I also think that it is intentional where they show it often because she is a female in this world. You know, I have to say the armor looks weird on her, right? It is what it is. But yeah, she's very clunky, but she's clunky in anything you see her in. She's clunky a little bit in Phasma's role as well.
Yeah, because we were talking about it, but then we're like, it looks like she has, you know, she's walking with 2 left feet, but then she's like a ballerina with the sword, just like absolutely decimating everyone in any fight. And it's just like, but she can barely like walk.
She can barely walk. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm done derailing. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But yeah, she wins, and her little thing here is trying to prove herself, right, in a world full of men. And basically
it's a man's
her wish to King Renly here is to basically be of his king's guard, and like serve him indefinitely. And to everyone's kind of like they thought was funny, he was like, yeah, that sounds good to me. Like, why not?
You just beat our best swordsman.
Yeah. And it was kind of something I think he took in light, and like he didn't see a problem granting either. And so that's her introduction, and that's going to be her like stint, right? Is that she just needs to serve a lord, and like she just wants to earn her way. And she's also just a damn good fighter.
Right.
And always has to prove that to the boys.
I think it's cool the exploration they do with Brienne and Jaime on their little adventure, where they're like the complete opposite ends of the spectrum of knighthood, right? Yeah. Like Brienne is what you would consider, or at least what I consider, like the classical knight character, where, you know, super loyal, just wants to serve and protect, will like do anything to protect who she's serving. Is like, seems, at least to this point in the show. Like just the best of the best, like character wise, like as a person, she's just has the best motives, the purest motives, I should say.
Yeah.
Like she's just a good person. And then you see Jamie on the other end of the night spectrum, where he's like one of the best fighters, right? He's a renowned combatant, but also like the scummiest person in the world, and doesn't care about loyalty or protecting or serving. And they even like talk about, like, I think they have a conversation about it while she's like transporting him later on in the season. But I just thought it was a cool little dichotomy thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely. Those two characters together are very, very, very good. But yeah, I really like Brienne. I don't know. It's just something about the way she carries herself, I guess, is the best way to put it. And it's probably the loyalty that she has, right? Yeah, I love her. She's a major character moving forward, so we're going to see much more of her. But yeah, I like this whole sequence because she actually bests Loras Tyrell.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super interesting. And Loras also, when the first time I watched this, I didn't even realize that he was in the first season as well. Like we see him and Renly together for whatever reason. I thought that they switched actors, and that's what screwed me up. Which you're gonna see, honestly, you'll see a couple times throughout the show that and we'll point it out here, so we're aware of it. But you'll see actor changes throughout. So I thought that's what happened, but he just looks totally different in season 2 compared to season 1. I don't know what it is.
Doesn't he beat like the mountain in the jousting thing, and then he like the mountain chops his horse's head off?
Yep.
He's pissed. He's so mad.
Also, he's a little salty about losing, and Brienne being appointed in the Kingsguard. A little smidge of jealousy. I sense.
Yeah.
He does not like that.
Not a fan at all.
So Catelyn's rolling up here, and she's essentially coming to Renly to make her case in terms of why Robb is on the same side as them. They should all kind of team up and take down the Lannisters in King's Landing. Renly isn't necessarily on board with this right away, because really Robb is kind of seen as the third king here, or even fourth. And Tywin mentions this, if he hasn't already, but it's, this can be known as like the War of the Five Kings, as they call it. He says this to Arya a little later.
Yeah.
But there's a Stannis problem for Renly, his older brother being a jerk. We got Robb being like the young gun hero who is legit awesome. And then also you have the Lannisters and all that stuff. So Renly here, kind of propped up by a lot of different things. Just kind of really just his brother's word, in that he was like, my brother liked me more, kind of thing. And like,
sucks, Stan.
Yeah, it sucks, Stannis.
I
and
will
also like
now
the Tyrells
forever refer
back
to him
him.
as Stan. Like he's just now Stan.
And the Tyrells back him with the marriage,
which is important. Yeah.
And they're a pretty big deal.
Yes.
There in the South. They have like all the food, basically. Very powerful family. And in all that, like, she's trying to make her case. Which one goes
She
so
really
well.
wants to be a queen, we learn.
Yes. Yeah. And this decision makes the most sense for Robb. Like that, I had no problem with this. Like, of course, he should definitely pair up with him, because Renly has a huge army. He's got a big following already. Robb obviously has never really even shows any interest in the Iron Throne, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not why he's doing this. It's not to get the Iron Throne.
And he definitely says that multiple times throughout the season too.
Right. So unlike what I thought with the Theon thing earlier, I thought this was a brilliant move by him. And it felt weird that Renly wasn't into it. You know what I mean? Like why? Just because he's the rightful king. Like, dude, pair together, this would be perfect. This is
Yeah.
exactly what you need to accomplish both goals.
Yeah, and it really it all makes sense though, because he's really out of play. Like he's out of position altogether from the get-go, and you
Yeah.
quickly start seeing that. Like you're like, why is what's Renly got going for him? Like his wife's hot, they're a powerful family.
Yeah. And he's got
Power couple.
He's got the banners.
He's got the banners, and what's really going on here?
Right.
And Catelyn's like making this proposition to him. Is that all in this episode where
Yeah, I think so.
he gets toasted?
This
is how
Rest in peace.
this is how this episode ends. Which we'll just do it right now because it's all tied in. But
yeah,
but there's a lot of different cool things. There's so much that happens in this camp, which is cool. That's just important for later because there's people just chit-chatting about like why Marjorie and him have two different tents and why are they separate, and like Loras is kind of everyone kind of knows kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it's super interesting that like even Marjorie knows. Like she's like, do you want me to have my brother come in and help? Yeah. Or like, you could just start with him and finish with me.
Yeah,
like
TLDR, I just need a baby in my belly.
Right.
Let's go.
However we can make that happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, even what's his name? Littlefinger, like
Littlefinger,
Littlefoot. What, I don't even remember.
Littlefinger, you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one that's kind of like questioning her.
Yeah,
he knows. He knows.
He's all over this season too. Like he's in everyone's pocket, and he gets around for sure this season.
Yeah, and this is definitely important that he is here now, and we're talking about him now for later. Yeah, he just gets around, dude. Just a slimy little. I don't know. I can't stand Littlefinger, man.
Yeah, he's like.
And he was pretty stationary in King's Landing in season 1 for the most part. But this one, like he's out making moves because things are a shifting.
You know who else is making moves in King's Landing?
Who?
Tyrion. This is the episode where he's like weaving his 3 different marriage proposals to the 3 different small court members,
which I absolutely love.
So great.
Love it. So good.
Like the plan itself, but then even the way they like shoot it.
Yeah.
And like where he's like explaining it to one person, then it like, cuts to just a shot of Tyrion while he's explaining it, and then it goes back and he's explaining it to like the other guy or whatever.
Yeah, such a brilliant move, dude. Like this shows off right there how smart this guy is, that he was able to do this and figure out who the leak was, which I thought was absolutely amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. But I can't believe that they introduce him and kill Renly all in one episode.
I think
I don't think I think Renly dies in episode 5.
Well, and Renly is in episodes in season 1. I remember him being there because wasn't he on the small court or whatever they call it?
He ran off.
Small council, that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, and that's where I completely forget like he was in that, and then all of a sudden like he shows up and he's like king and he's like all this stuff going for him.
Right.
I definitely missed that on the first watch years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're correct. Yeah, season 5 is where that happens. But
episode 5.
He does the whole marriage dance thing. Really good sequence overall. And then over at Winterfell, Bran is he's having these dreams. That 3-eyed raven that Mike keeps wondering about keeps kind of like showing up.
Yeah.
He keeps dreaming that he's like a wolf.
Yep.
And like he like comes back to his bed and then he wakes up. Lots of cool stuff there. And then we're getting to know forget her name, but she's what'd you call her?
Shoot. She's the Ollie's version of Lauren Cohen, who plays Maggie in The Walking Dead.
Oh, you're talking about... And then
somebody else, I forget which one of you two said an even lower, terrible...
Dollar Tree. I said Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree brand. Oh, dude, but she does. She looks like Lauren Cohen so much.
Yeah, so he's getting coaching from the Maester and like basically just trying to figure out. We also get Bran being kind of like Lord of Winterfell action, just kind of serving to the peasants, the locals, right? Just kind of dealing with their cases one by one.
Just like carving in the table, like listening to the nonsense.
Bored. Yeah.
And his brother is like just being a menace, like super distracting. He's cracking like walnuts or something.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta say, okay, so this will be my third favorite sleeper character, and that is the Winterfell Maester. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you said that right. Yeah, he's
guy.
Yeah, he's great, man. He's always the especially when we get into the Theon stuff.
Yeah.
He's always like the good angel on the shoulder the whole time, you know what I mean? Yeah, I love his character in the first season, and I love him in this season as well. Definitely underrated.
Yeah, and he's like effectively taken the father figure role of Ned with Bran. Yeah. And you get kind of like some dialogue about that later. But I mean he's been around like all of their entire lives. So he's like such a close and crucial part of the Stark family.
Yes.
And it's reciprocated, which is really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of like grandpa.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are just cool things. Just kind of seeing more of Winterfell and kind of the day-to-day workings there. And there is actually a slightly important bit here where the one like commander, kind of leader of their forces, the older guy with like the beard. Like braided in there.
Love that.
Basically, they're saying that the Lannisters are raiding a nearby town or something like that. So Bran agrees to send out some troops to go reclaim it, go fix it. But it sounds off because like where are the Lannisters doing this far north? They think it's like hired men to like just cause trouble. So a little bit of tension on the northern front with old Bran there having to make some war decisions. It's not all just housekeeping stuff. And that obviously leads to something else later. But we move into episode 5, The Ghost of Harrenhal, and get Harrenhal action here, which is just the best of the whole season.
Oh, dude, it might be it's up there for the show for me personally. And
I forgot how good this all was.
Yeah, and I love the imagery of Harrenhal. Harrenhal was burnt by dragons. So they mentioned it multiple times, like what kind of fire melts stone, that kind of stuff. And I think you like it too, because you even sent me a picture of it, like while you were watching like Harrenhal. I was like, dude, it's so
one
cool.
of the like I think it was like the third or fourth like Tywin Arya scene. They do like this really sweet like from the ground pan back and up, and where you land is with Tywin in his like little chambers. And he's just like looking over just the smoldering, like it's always just like eerie, burning Harrenhal. And the place is huge. And Tywin even says like it has like 100 hearths, right? Which is basically 100 fireplaces, 100 places for which you could gather.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I immediately thought of Valheim.
Yep. 100 of those, Mike. That's our goal.
Yeah.
That's a big castle.
Yeah, it's definitely a big. This castle was a big deal. I don't know that it is now, obviously, because it's pretty much ruins. But we'll hear more about Harrenhal later on throughout the story. But yeah, just cool imagery, and then everything that happens here is some of the best of the series, as far as I'm concerned. Really.
Yeah, because they drag back Arya and her gang, right? All these prisoners, and we get the goons in the cart that she helped and all that stuff. And they're essentially at first kept in this pen, this like almost open pen. It's just like a waist high fence. Like it's weird, but they're just kept in there by fear. But I think they're also like chained up a little bit. But essentially they're picking out like someone at random. And there's that whole bit where it's like, told me like if you don't look them in the eye, or if you look them in the eye,
they
won't pick you. But
so
then
the
person that told him that
gets picked.
Yeah. And then he pees his pants or something.
Yeah. I love Hot Pie. That whole sequence too, just awkwardly staring at the dude as he's looking at him.
It's just the thought of that is just like this fat kid staring down like the massive executioner.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do?
And I love the torture device as well, which is actually in something else. And I was trying to remember where else I saw this technique, and it's actually Too Fast, Too Furious. The bad guy in that puts the rat in the metal bucket.
Yeah.
But yeah,
seems
just
like a very Saw thing, like a jigsaw
yeah,
contraption would
very
definitely
practical.
yes, yeah. So the whole, I mean, the whole setup of it is they heat the barrel up, and the rat only has one way to go, and that's through your stomach.
Yeah.
But just a barbaric freaking medieval torture device,
It
right?
scratches at you at first, and then
Yeah.
Yep.
starts
Yep.
gnawing, and
Yeah,
rough.
It's like,
Not
wow, it's
good.
getting a little toasty in here.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah. And we get that's all just crazy, and they're trying to, I forget what are they trying to extract out of them? Are they
Something
just
They're trying
about
to
a
get
fun?
cult or a brotherhood. What are they talking about?
Yeah, so we'll see them later. They're looking for the Brotherhood Without Banners, which is another group of people that we'll meet.
But it's something that hasn't really been introduced yet.
Not
Because
yet.
I was like, did I totally miss something?
Nope, you didn't
Every
miss
time
it.
we're here, I'm like, oh man, I definitely missed something.
Yeah. You haven't missed
Okay.
it. This is kind of the first ramblings of them. But we'll see them in more detail later for sure.
So this is definitely my number one sleeper favorite character of the season.
Yes. So
comes
we
into
get
play here.
Hakan Hagar. Is that how you would
Yeah,
say that?
I don't know how.
Jockin?
I think it's Jockin. I
Jockin?
can't remember.
I just call him the man because that's what he refers to himself
The man
as.
with no face. The man does have no
the
face.
man requires a name.
Yeah. So essentially, she's thrown off because because she sees this guard in the Lannister armor that is him from this cart, this prisoner cart that she helped. Basically, she helped save his life. So he, a man, now owes the girl 3 lives.
Yeah, it has something to do with his religion.
It's another
right?
religion, yeah. So we're seeing another religion here, and
now this is one of the 7 gods.
This might be, yes.
This is death. This is basically death that no one offers worship.
Yeah. And the basic premise is those 3 guys should have died in that cart, right? So we stole their lives from the gods. So now we got to give them 3 more. So you give me 3 names, and I'll take care of it. Which is just cool. I just love the religion stuff in this, because just seeing all the different pieces and parts and how they're different and everything.
His dialogue and the way he delivers it, like, I could listen to this guy talk all day.
I need an audio book or one of those calm, like, go to sleep things of his voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
I
actually
probably wouldn't want to listen to him, say this dialogue as I'm trying to sleep. That'd probably give me some real weird dreams.
Yeah. It is funny though, because that Calm app, Braun, who is the new head of the Kingsguard or the Golden Cloaks or whatever, actually does voices on that. So I listened to a couple of them. Yeah, he's got a great voice. But anyway, yeah, so that's I love the introduction of the religious stuff in here, just seeing how different it is. And this character is just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Through and through. And this really adds to Harrenhal and everything going on there, because there's already a really strong portion of Harrenhal. And this just adds to it,
Yeah. So Arya has her interaction with this fellow, right, who is very mysterious. She's very intrigued by him, and his methods. But also in this episode later on, is this when Tywin arrives?
Yes.
It's because basically they're torturing. I mean, this place is just being ran like just a slum pit. Then Tywin rolls up, because this is kind of like a base of operations for the Lannisters in the Riverlands region against Robb and stuff. So he shows up, Lannisters, all very formal, actual army, and he's just like, "What is going on here? Like, you guys are idiots."
They're about to rat bucket Gendry, right?
Gendry,
yep. Yeah, Gendry's about to get the rat bucket. He kind of rolls up and just kind of lays down some order. Essentially, the Harrenhal bits are kind of peppered all throughout the the season here forward. And I think we can just kind of talk about them all now because this is one of those very kind of sealed off arcs, and it's going to continue to be for some time.
Yep.
But I just love how she's figuring out how to work with the man with no face, and how to use him. She's like, I get 3 names, any name, and she's like trying to figure that out. And she starts off small, right? She kills the executioner, torturer guy. He's the first one to kind of get the axe.
Don't they call him the tickler or something?
The tickler,
like that?
yeah. And he's like, and that's enough. I love that. Yeah.
And then she uses her second trick, which this then ties into the other half of the greatness of this series. But she uses her second name on this guy that saw her reading a note from Tywin that she had, one of those pigeon notes.
She was trying to take it to a raven, right, to send to her brother or something like that.
She's took it to read it. To read it in more detail because it was about Rob and about basically everything that was going on that she didn't know about, and her mother and all that stuff.
Yeah, and basically the gist here is Gendry's getting tortured, right? When Tywin comes in, he takes Arya as his cupbearer, so she's basically his
dude. Perfect demonstration of practicality. Tywin rolls in, he's like, "What are you idiots doing, killing these people? Like, we got a lot of work that needs done around here. What do you do? Oh, I'm a blacksmith. Well, why are you about to kill him? Like, let's put him to work.
Yeah,
we need blacksmiths."
And I also really like that Tywin instantly knows that she's not a boy, or he's like, why are you dressed as a boy? Easier to travel. And he's like, smart. So this is the portion that I was talking that is like him and Arya together are just brilliant, absolutely brilliant through the entire show. And Nick, you said something that Tywin like owns every scene that he's in, and it's true. This guy is he is one of my favorite characters in the whole of the show. I don't know. It's just something about the way he carries himself, his ideals. He's a very stark contrast from the Lannisters, even though he is a Lannister. Like, he's not evil for evil's sake. You know what I mean? He's got a purpose behind it.
He is the way he is for the sake of the realm, really, and like the sake of order, the sake of things of how they should be or could or are supposed to be. Not necessarily what is right or wrong, but like how things just should be operated, right? What is better. He's hyper efficient, like Mike said, like, you idiots, like, why are we just torturing and just like keeping prisoners? Like, these people can be working.
Right.
We're in the middle of a war here. We're not like kind of just like pissing around having fun. So he's just hyper practical. He's super learned, and he values the learned things about Westeros. And like when he's talking with Ira, and he's kind of like extracting the fact that you're highborn, like my lord versus my lord. Like, that was great. Just the way she kind of carries herself and like how learned she is. Like, when my favorite part was when they started talking about the Targaryens and the dragons, and she was like, yeah, but it wasn't just what's his face that was riding the one dragon. Like, his 2 sisters were riding the other 2, and they were just like ripping hell too. And she knew the names of the dragons and knew them. And he's like, so your father, the stonemason, taught you all this.
All this crazy history. Yeah, exactly.
Very learned stonemason your father was. Though it did make me wonder, like, is he just that much of a practical man in terms of like, this is just some highborn girl that's just trying to stay alive, stay out of the war, run from something? Like, he didn't really press her as much as he maybe could have, because like, even once again, Littlefinger, he shows up and this is a great scene when when he's talking with Tywin about a lot of like very inner circle type information, but Arya, the cupbearer, is just kind of hanging out in there,
trying to avoid Littlefinger, because Littlefinger would recognize her. That's the kind of heavy part of this whole scene. You can almost, I don't know that he does recognize her, but you can almost see a couple times where he's like looking at her, and then he instantly brings up the Stark daughter. So I in my mind think that he recognized her, right?
And he just didn't say anything.
And he just didn't say anything. Yeah.
She would have got away with it too if she knew how to pour freaking liquid in a cup.
Yeah, right.
She's very distracted.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, just great interactions, well written, and it gives you also a lot of just context in terms of both these characters, and mostly in terms of just how Tywin ticks, what makes him tick.
One, like, you can tell how much he appreciates her too, because he's like, here, eat this, or
feeds
like
her, yeah,
and then he's like, go in the kitchen, eat whatever you want. Like, it's really cool.
And there's the bit where he's like, careful, I enjoy you.
Yeah,
but don't push it too far. Like,
right.
Don't question me.
I think the context stuff here is really good too. The learning about his dad. He's telling her the story about his dad and how he almost ruined the house and yada yada yada. Weak man. Just everything surrounding Tywin. I love. Like, I eat this guy up, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
I when he tells that story, I feel bad for him because he's just like this cornerstone of his house, of the throne.
Yeah.
Like, during the Mad King, like, he was Hand the King. He made it wealthy. Like, everything was good. There's time of peace. Like, they attribute like, oh yeah, everything was hunky dory during the Mad King. He was just crazy. Well, it was hunky dory because Tywin was like running the show.
Yeah.
And it shows you like how much his dedication to the realm he has. Yeah. And like, that's what drives him. Whatever equals that, that's Tywin.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. He just, and
he's like, my dad treated he like almost ruined our house. And I just built it back up to be legitly like the most badass house there is. And my children are shits.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I just I don't know, man. I eat him up every time he's on screen. Like, back in the day when Game of Thrones was still airing, they used to, and I'm sure you can find them on YouTube now. You could go and find like all their scenes together in a single video, and Tywin would always be the first one that I go to because it's just something about him and his story and the way he carries himself and his ideas and everything that I don't know. I eat it up.
Now, you ready to move on from?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure at the end of last episode, because it was a ending when Renly dies. He died in the last episode. So in this episode,
can we talk about how he died?
Yeah,
we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, well, now that I'm piecing together that for sure was the finale, and then we get into it, because this is the escape, basically, in the addressing of that action.
You're talking about the beginning of episode 6. It's the escape.
No, episode 5.
Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure.
It doesn't matter. We can talk about it. It doesn't matter where it's at in the show.
Yeah, but basically the baby of Stannis and Melisandre here, she has Davos take her in a boat and smuggles her ashore into like a cave that has a gate. And he's like, we can't go any further. This plan sucks. Let's leave. He's like,
she's like, hold my wine.
Yeah, hold my wine. And a phantom, shadowy, baby octopus.
Yeah, this is where she channels her inner octopus and just ink jets like all over the sewer here.
She gives birth to like a demon.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like an almost like formed child demon that then
becomes a man demon.
Turns into a man demon by the time it crawls up its hole into Renly's tent, and then just shanks
one hole right into another.
Yeah.
I love how the entire time, like, she's like pseudo seducing the Onion Knight here.
Oh yeah.
She's like, I bet you want to see what's under these robes.
You will.
And he's like, I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, surprise.
Yeah, his reaction too is hilarious.
Yeah,
when he finds out she's pregnant.
Yeah, that, and then he's like, oh crap, and then I guess we're doing this here.
Yeah,
and then like just the stages of shock. It's like, oh wow, you're pregnant. Oh wow, we're having a baby. oh, what is
What
that?
is that?
And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, the little shadow demon just scurries its way up the sewer.
And this is shocking because one, it's not so much the fact that like she just like quickly gives birth to like a shadow demon. Like that's just like part of her character.
Yeah.
I think it's the idea that just like the magic element here where you're really questioning like this show, like what is happening? Like, is there magic? Is there not magic? There's a lot of magic in this season versus last season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
yeah.
obviously the first like use of like some serious magic is like giving birth to a shadowy ink.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of tipping point, and it's quite a tipping point, right? Where you're kind of thrown. It does sound. I don't want to say that it's super abrasive to see it in this fashion for the first time, but it is a little jarring to see magic working for the first time in this really odd fashion. You know what I mean?
And so effortless too, and so direct because she was like, oh, she had sex with Stannis, then
promised
like
him a son.
then like 8 hours later, promised him a son. 8 hours later, gives birth to this thing, and then assassinates Renly.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and again, just like confirming to Stan, like, hey, what I've seen, what the gods have foretold, like this is gonna happen. You just got to trust. He's got to trust your girl over here.
Yeah.
Just keep
and
Catelyn, full these inks demons.
and Catelyn and Brienne are in the tent here,
right? Very
and
important.
they see this happen.
Yes.
And
what's the conversation they're having with Renly here? Did they finally like convince him at this point, or are they kind of still having that discourse of like trying to convince him to team up with Robb?
I think they were trying to still convince him at this point.
I think they were making headway. She was,
yeah,
she was really. It was like she was like really making her case. Like dude, like let's talk about this, because he was kind of like brushing it off and not being very forward about it. And they had the meeting with old Stan, some scenes prior where they meet on like the cliffside, and basically she wants them both to just like come together, everyone help, and like we have a lot of armies here that could make this like work. Meanwhile, there's like dipshit brothers, and they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. We're not helping each other. And
Stan's pretty much like, hey, you better, basically like drop your claim here, or else I'm gonna get you. And Renly's like, sucks to suck, dude.
Yeah,
I'm very clearly the favorite, and can't help it. Can't help. My name was the one on the list, bro.
Yeah.
And so he's like, all right, you got till dawn to basically surrender, or else I'm gonna get you.
Get shanked. But yeah, so that looks really bad on Brienne and Catelyn there. So they have to make a quick dash out of the camp because guards show up, and it doesn't look good. It really looks like
Brienne did it.
Looks like Brienne did it.
Cat tells her they'll hang you for this if they get you. So,
and Brienne is dead certain it's like Stannis was the form of the shadow. I don't quite pick up on that, but I wasn't there.
I mean, you can see it a little bit because I did kind of pay attention to it this time around, because they do say that it had the face of Stannis. You can see it a bit. I'm just more curious in world how she knows what Stannis looks like. You know what I mean? Because she
was there during their
okay,
little meeting on the cliff there.
Yeah.
So
but still, that probably was her only interaction with Stannis.
Yeah.
So like just being able to
pick him out.
Like, this weird ink shadow demon definitely looked like Stannis.
Definitely looked like Stannis.
That's where I was just like, that's a stretch. But whatever floats your boat there. Brienne, you're a zealot. Across the kingdoms, we have Theon here on the Pike Islands. Not super important, but it's funny because it's more of Theon in trying to understand, or them trying to make him understand like what being an Ironborn is.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's just gonna like command this ship full of swashbuckling like Ironborn to like get in line, do your thing. And we get introduced to a he's not a good character but he's a good character. His kind of like basically the real leader of his little band of Ironborn.
Yeah.
Um,
And he would be the devil on the other side versus the Maester later
Correct.
on, right?
And he carries that with him because this dude's just always straight facing, has this like weird like smirk, like let's just kill somebody.
Yeah.
And he delivers the like gotta pay the iron price a little bit later.
Both lights have gone out, boys.
Just like last time.
Yep.
So that's just funny, and like his sister's there, like just kind of harping on him, and he's just getting heckled like this whole time by his people.
Yeah,
and it's really this is where he turns from where he's like this proud and like I'm a lord and blah 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 to where like he's just getting heckled, and he's just not. He can't take the shit. He can dish out shit, but he cannot take shit.
Absolutely,
and it just eats at his character, and like he develops this like twitch about him where like you can see it happening when he's kind of like Joffrey in some senses, where he's just acts irrationally, except for he looks to others for advice where maybe Joffrey doesn't quite do that, where Theon's just like kind of looking around like what are my options, and he's given his options and he always just chooses like the worst option.
It's weird because he's got it. It's just rough because in one boat you have the family that pretty much kidnapped you, even though they are technically your actual family now, in quotes, right? And then he's excited to go back to his real family, but his real family hates him pretty much, doesn't want anything to do with him.
For no good reason.
For no good reason whatsoever.
Just because he's a fancy boy.
Because he's a fancy boy, yeah. So, I mean, it's got to be tough on him. And I think a lot of the decision he makes in this season are trying to figure out who he is, you know what I mean? Or where he belongs. And it's unfortunate that he... Go ahead.
Oh, no. You were... I keep interrupting you guys.
No, you're fine. It's unfortunate that he took out that aggression and that test that he wanted to test for himself on the other family, right?
Yeah.
But go ahead. That's all.
No, I was just going to say, like, it makes you, feel for him and kind of want to be in his corner. But then, like, exactly what you said, he's doing it to the wrong people. You love the Starks a lot more than really anyone else in the show.
Right.
And it's just like, Theon, dude, of all people, like these guys took you in a terrible situation and like tried to make it the best for you.
Yeah, it's just a wimpy move, dude, because he knows that he's not going to have any resistance at Winterfell, right? Because they're off doing their own thing. So it's just I don't know. It's just I get that he's trying to prove himself, but he's kind of being a pussy about it by taking over a castle that's run by a 9-year-old kid at the current moment.
And he rolls into the bedchamber of that kid when he's like waking up, and he's just like, "So I took the castle.
Yeah,
just bend the knee.
Right.
Like,
just you can't do that. Oh, too soon."
And then Bran shows just a little bit of brass to him. He's like, "No, like that's stupid."
Yeah.
And he gets it just eats him alive. Like everything just starts eating him alive.
Yeah.
I guess I just struggle with like why he wants to continue to try to prove himself to his family when there's such douchebags to him. And he hasn't, it's not like he was gone for like a year or 6 months. Like
he just went back,
practically grew up like
as
a Stark. And it's just like, if you go back and then like your family's, I mean, if I was in that position, I'd be like, well, you know what? Screw you.
Right.
Like, I'm just going back to the Starks. Like, these people actually care for me.
Yeah, I think everything's just jarring for him because when he gets back to the Iron Islands, his sister is now the position that he would have been had he been there. Yeah. So he's trying to usurp her position in the Iron Islands while proving himself to his father, and he just makes the most piss poor choice of doing it. You know what I mean? Now, granted, I get in his mind like, it is difficult to take Winterfell. They say it multiple times. And it's very easy to hold Winterfell. I think that he says, Ned Stark says you could hold Winterfell against 10,000 with 500 men or something ridiculous, 50 men or something. So I get it. I get it. But us as the viewer, we know, like, dude, you're such a wimp. Like, you're taking over a castle run by a crippled kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Whose entire force is already preoccupied like halfway
With
across
war.
the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What a scum.
Yep.
Yeah. And we have some nice watch stuff happening, but mostly they're just kind of walking through the snow, very Lord of the Rings style.
Yeah.
Mostly just like good dialogue and old night watch adventuring. But they arrive at what's called it's a Fist of the First Men, and I guess it used to be a fortress, but in the show it's just kind of like a snowy cliff.
hill. Yeah.
But yeah, they're basically the thing here though is like they are looking for the king beyond the wall, the wildlings, where they all are at, because they know that they have all gathered somewhere. Right. So essentially they're out to find them.
So they've just kind of like given up on Benjen at this point.
I think that's
they're
what
looking for Benjen.
Yeah, that's the goal. I think they assume that he's with the wildlings somewhere. Maybe because you also got to remember that like, I think we learn it back at Craster's Keep that they say Mance Raider has started to pull all the tribes or whatever they're called together into a single army. We don't really know what the purpose of that is.
Can't be good.
Can't be good. Know. Right. So yeah, I think they're still looking for Benjen. I think that's still the goal.
Yeah. And that leads us into episode 6 called The Old Gods and the New. And this is basically, as you guys were just discussing, this is where Theon completes his master plan of taking over Winterfell. That's how the episode essentially opens, is that kind of just waltzes into Bran's chamber. Is like, I got you. It's like, come on, dude, you suck.
Yeah.
And whatever character Mike liked of him in the first season, like just
completely
gets
gone.
Just gets stripped away.
Yeah.
Like it gets brought, like it's already pretty low after like he turns coat to his family.
Right.
But now from here, like it's just digging him like
deeper and deeper.
Negative.
Yeah.
He's like negative.
He's got negative character. Exactly.
And it's such a fast descent too. Like it happens.
Yeah.
So
it
quick,
is.
And you're like, what happened to this guy? He sucks.
Very quick.
He's really like the opposite of Joffrey. Like the same like attitude issues, completely different results.
Right. Yep.
Like I don't know what it's been so far with the show, but I'm really enjoying like the inverse of characters. Like because you see Ned and Joffrey with the execution thing in season 1.
Yeah.
And then you see like we talked about Brienne and Jaime and their knighthoodness. And now you see Joffrey and Theon, where they're like pretty much the same character, but opposite like results or opposite ends of the same character spectrum.
Joffrey gets stuff done at least.
Yeah. Joffrey is a whiny turd who acts emotionally and is power hungry, but also like gets the results he wants. Theon is a whiny turd who is power hungry and makes emotional decisions. However, everything he does just digs his grave even deeper.
Right. Yeah, good point.
And I think we glazed over this, but I think I know the part where you text us, Mike, and you're like, gotta hate Joffrey. Was it when Tyrion sends him his like crowning or birthday presents?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We did graze over that. Yeah. That that scene, man. But I think it's important because it shows you how scummy this guy is. And it also shows you that him and his uncle are kind of battling secretly between each other. Like his uncle sends him this name day gift and he knows that it's his uncle. And he even says like, my uncle sent you, huh? Yeah. Before he starts the torturing of them.
Yeah. But I think this also serves to show like, I mean, a lot of the things that Joffrey's done so far are like psychopathic, but like he's more than just like a whiny brat turd who's power hungry. Like he is a literal maniac.
Like, actual issues.
This guy is a sociopathic like monster.
Yep.
Yeah, and it shows that like the normal things that move most people in this show, like he's he's phased by inversely. Like if anything, he's like, ooh, more violence and more opportunity to just inflict pain.
Yeah, and I mean, there are 4 boobs here.
Yeah.
And it does not solve any problem.
No.
It's the first time we see lots of boobs and then like a very bad thing happens.
Very.
Usually it's like the boobs solve the problems.
And that was literally Bronn's thinking when he told Tyrion to do this, was like, you got to get the poison out, right?
I love that whole exchange was hilarious.
Yeah. And it totally backfires.
Got to get the poison out.
Yeah.
It just becomes more poison with Joffrey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
that was the root of my gotta hate Joffrey.
I figured.
I was trying to remember I was like, where is he at? I'm like, oh yeah, right about there. Yeah, he likes that crossbow too.
That's the creepiest part of the whole thing, man. Is he's sitting there winding the crossbow up while they're doing it.
That's what they call these days, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Anyway, on from that. There's so many things going on. And that's just like a little sub layer of Joffrey that will peel back as the episodes go on. So yeah, Theon does his shitty thing. He's still heckled by even, the people of Winterfell. Because they all know Theon. Like he's just kind of like, what are you doing, dude? Like you suck. But then in King's Landing, we see them sending Marcella, which was the true outcome of Tyrion's marriage proposal plan. Ultimately does get sent away to Dorne. Yes, correct. Dorne.
Yep.
And this makes Cersei upset. And this is where she becomes a little unhinged with Tyrion for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And this starts her kind of her dead end spiral that gets ultimately corrected by the end of the season here. But
what a crazy descent into madness she takes.
Yeah. And basically she is now on like basically a warpath with Tyrion. Rampage with Tyrion. So like nothing Tyrion does is going to be right from here on out for her.
I gotta say too, like the whole thing she does to Tyrion where, basically her whole outlook is from the moment he sends the daughter away, like he took something I love away from me, so now I'm going to take something you love away from you. Like when you least expect it, like I will hurt you the same way you've hurt me. And then when she does what she thinks would hurt him, like, and we have the build up. She brings him into the chamber and basically gives him the spiel like, oh well, I know that you love someone and I have her and I will hurt her, blah 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 blah, makes all these threats, etc. And he's obviously rightfully in a panic and worry because of Shay.
Yes.
And then she's like, bring her out, like I'll show you she's still alive or whatever. And it's not Shay, and it's that poor girl who she's just like
just the wrong place.
Dude, man, she just cannot catch a break. But that whole time, because like Cersei's like, it's like, look at me, I got you, and she's even got that dumb smirk on her face. And
one of the few times she looks dumb to the audience. She never really knows this, at least until much later. But like, I think
he plays it off perfectly. He plays it off perfectly. So
so that's a little the whole Tyrion and her, like that's a whole little layer subplot there that's going on. That's on autopilot for this season. For sure.
I do think it's funny that we all agreed that Tyrion's like the main character of the season, and that is the first time we've talked about him in like 2 hours.
Well, him and Rob, and those are like two characters we haven't spent a lot of time on, but they're so like crucial to like the main
Mhm.
flight of everything. And also where we finally do get to see a little bit more Rob context here in episode 6 is his mother goes back to his camp and is basically like, that didn't go well at all.
We need to release Jamie. I know that's not exactly what you want to hear.
and we see a lot of tension here between Rob and his mother in this episode and the next few episodes, because essentially things don't go as planned there. Things are starting not to go as planned for Rob, essentially. And she has this, once again, dead end goal of just getting her children back, and it's just making these unilateral decisions to try and make that happen. But in that, she's also witnessing her son, Rob, have eyes for this nurse girl.
Falling for Bay.
Falling for Bay, which, spoiler alert, completely just is like, we're going to get married. And his mom's like, this is not a good idea, because that man that we made a promise to that you would marry his daughter is a psychopath. And Rob's like, you know what? I don't really care. I'm king of the north. Like, he can suck it. And he's still just not fully. He's definitely distracted by this love interest.
Yes, very much. So.
Very into Bay.
Yeah,
like
very into Bay.
Living that Bay life.
Yeah.
Also, they get so like in the Renly camp, like Littlefoot basically is like,
no, you screwed it up that time.
Yeah,
Littlefinger
landed before time. Littlefinger's like, yeah, like let's trade. Like, come on, you give me Jamie, I'll give you your daughters. Like, let's just make it happen. So that whole thing is being brought to Rob, but also I think at this point they've caught wind of what happened at Winterfell too.
Yeah.
So they're like dealing with all this stuff at the same time.
He wants to ride back north and just like stick it to Theon, but they're like, don't be stupid. Like, we have a whole army in the south here, and like our attention is.
Who's the one dude that's like, I have a son that's like basically your neighbor, and I can get him to retake Winterfell.
Yeah, he's one of the. I can't remember his name. There's a couple of them that are bannermen to Winterfell.
Yeah, he comes back later. I did not realize he was in the series that early on.
Oh, really? Does he? Does he?
He's a completely different. Pretty sure a completely different little activity later arc.
Oh, really?
Like season
4.
I'll
have to go back and look and see.
He looks super familiar.
Like. Okay.
I think he is.
He might be. He might be. Yeah.
But I was like, wow, is that who I think it is? And it's just like one of those really early on, kind of like Renly, on the council in like season 1. I was like, whoa, like.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple characters in season 1 that we will see in much greater detail that I didn't even know. There's literally one that's in one scene of season 1. And I didn't even realize that it was him until going back and watching it the second time. So yeah, that happens pretty frequently for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I think it's just because there's just so much going on that it's easier to overlook these smaller scenes and smaller characters, even when they come back in greater detail later.
Yeah. But I think ultimately, like that's where Rob's arc in this season kind of is. Like, he's just kind of pulled in multiple directions. He's getting married. He's pissed at his mother. His mother's just like doing things out of
Spoiler
line.
alert, she does release Jamie.
She releases Jamie. That's kind of like the ultimate, like, mom, treason. Like, you're pissing me off. Like, stop.
Yeah.
And she
turn this war caravan around.
Her releasing Jamie, like, I still like, that's one where I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
She was just like, if anything, in hopes of them releasing my daughters. Like, no,
not that. Yeah, that's a crucial mistake. Yeah.
But she is exploring this new pledge of loyalty that Brienne has given her, right? So he's not completely just free. Like, he's being taken with Brienne. So there is some sort of like locked inness there where maybe something good will come of it. But ultimately, it's like, no.
Yeah, not.
But we have to get Brienne and Jamie together, because
true,
they have the start of very, like, they didn't even have that many good conversations as they do later, like season 3.
Yeah.
It really takes off with those two
definitely.
in terms of what they talk about and their character arcs developing. But this definitely
Is the start
starts
of
it.
Yeah.
And I text you, I was like, man, old school Jamie, where
Yep.
he's just like douchebag all
Right.
the time.
Yeah.
Just Rasner the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, Jamie's like I said in season 1, I think Jamie's got one of probably my favorite arc of the entire show, and this is kind of where it starts for me. Yeah, their interaction in this season is great. Just the little bit that we get, and we also get to see that Brienne is kind of a badass as well, right? Like we seen her best Loras earlier, but she also takes out the Stark guards. And even Jamie like is not buying. He's like, untie me and I'll help you. And then all of a sudden she just decimates these guys.
I also
which I
love
loved.
their conversation of like, the difference between serving the Starks or Winterfell and serving Catelyn.
Yeah,
and
she's very
she
clear.
Decimates the Stark guard, and she's like, "No, I told you I serve Catelyn."
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, all that crazy stuff's going on. We have kind of glossed over Dany's arc so far. But eventually the riders return one by one in the first two, not in the greatest of shapes.
Right.
I think the one comes back with the head of my favorite shoot, what are these people called?
Dothraki,
that's right. And then the second one is just the horse, like in a war paint of a different tribe.
Yeah.
But then the third rider does come back. I believe it is the rider, right? And he's like, "Yeah, I found Karth or whatever." That is the town name, right? Karth.
Correct.
Yep.
So they go there, and they have to meet. Well, first, what is the name of the? It's the name of the episode is Garden of Bones. So this is all the way back in episode 4, but this is another one where my boy, he uses the episode title in a very cool way. In conversation, but like basically like Karth is this massive city with a huge wall, and like they call the front area here the Garden of Bones, because like if they don't let you in, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because it's the only place in the Red Waste that could give you salvation, and so if they turn you away, you're toast.
Yeah,
right.
And what do they call the best city there
best
is?
City that ever
there
was or ever will
greatest,
be.
Greatest city that ever was and ever will be.
Yeah. I love like the main guy of the 13 that kind of has the most interactions. Like such a pompous like tool. I hate this guy so much, but he's like also kind of funny.
Zaro, Zoan, Daxos.
No, that's the dude that vouches for Dany, because she's rejected. No, he's
talking about the bald fat dude.
Who's like the trader merchant or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just like a giant sleazeball.
Yeah.
But basically, Dany and crew make their way to Karth. They get there. The 13 come out and basically reject her. But they wanted to like meet with her because they heard she was the mother of dragons, and that, of course, is fascinating. And I think he's like, we'll let you in, like, but I want to see the dragons. And she's like, no, but you will let me in, because if you don't, when these dragons grow up, I will come and
back.
Like lay waste to those who have wronged me, basically. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then like he's like, see you later. You probably won't do that, because you just told me like if we don't let you in, you're gonna die. So yeah, have fun.
And I believe this is one of the first times we hear her say that she will take what is hers with fire and blood, all the way in season 2. So yeah, I think that I love that this whole sequence. It's the Dany stuff seems kind of there's very little going on in the season compared to everything else.
I was surprised how much screen time it got for like how little story it is.
Right.
And maybe that's why like she does show up in more episodes than maybe we give her credit for or give
Yeah.
the writers credit for. It's
There's
just like they
not a big story there.
yeah, because ultimately she arrives at Karth. Dude vouches for her. She gets in. His ultimate plan is to marry her and like
Right.
position her in a
His claim is he's like the richest man of Karth, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Quote unquote king of Karth.
which is fraud.
Yeah, which
right.
is hilarious
Essentially not
when that
true.
whole gets revealed.
Oh, so one of the best payoffs in the show, dude, when they open that safe and there's nothing in it. I love that.
And then
Absolutely
they just
love
lock
that.
him in there.
Yeah.
He's just a fraud. And the only other he gets in league with the Warlocks, which is cool because this is like a very
Insert
strong
some more magic.
Magic, right? And very, very literal magic.
Very video gamey too, like very old school Castlevania where he makes like the duplicates of himself.
And essentially the dragons being around empower the Warlocks once again. And the extended histories was super helpful here because they actually do call out that the Warlocks they said if they should ever have like their power restored, like it would be a bad day for Karth. Because like they're legit powerful.
Right.
So yeah, they lure her into the tower. She's just super brave, if not dumb, and just kind of like goes in there. There's a cool little kind of like alternate where they're trying to trick her, and they show her Khal Drogo, her potentially unborn child, born in this alternate one of those classic situations. Like, here's what could be if you just stay and be happy in our illusion. She's just like, nah, this ain't cool. Also, though, on her path there, she goes through the ruins of the throne room in King's Landing.
Yes.
And basically
very, very important.
Snow falling everywhere. It's like sticking in her hair. Like everything's burned.
You can see that. Yeah, you can see the roof is ripped off of the throne room and stuff.
Yeah. So she's just kind of going through a lot of different things that are in her mind. But very, very cool elements there. Even like the cool how she gets in there, where like he's like Jorah's following her, and then she's just gone. Yeah, she's gone. Yeah, cool little stuff like that. But
rip the Dothraki though, like literally,
dude,
there's just like
ripped.
one dude, one dude left.
Yeah,
so many of them just got like murdered. And then they do the whole thing where the Warlocks just like kill all of the other 13, the other 12.
Yeah, I love
other 11.
Yeah, I loved
it.
That
was pretty rowdy.
Yeah, the whole duplicate thing was so cool. I thought. I didn't know that about or at least I don't remember it about the dragons powering them up.
Yeah,
it makes sense though.
Now I was kind of like when like the dragons just like spit a bunch of fire on him and he just kind of melts and dies.
Yeah,
so I was like, oh, that's weak. Like,
right.
Dude couldn't like correct
then
that
all
situation.
The change just conveniently turned to sand
because she killed the Warlock, and he actually put his actual self in front of her, not a duplicate.
Yeah,
whatever. Right.
Because I had very much practice, clearly, of warlocking.
It's been a while. Yeah,
it's been a while. Yeah. Been a while. He's like, oh crap, I forgot. But yeah, so they basically they loot the place. What was left.
Which they were trying to do the whole time, which was hilarious for comedy reasons. They're like, yeah, we should just steal all this stuff. And even they like multiple scenes where they're like looking at like this would sell for a lot of money. She's like, you can't steal stuff.
Right.
Just relax.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think my favorite part of this is like what's his name? Zara gets locked in his empty vault.
Yeah.
Zara.
Dude, yeah. So like the ending of Saul, you know what I mean?
Was that
like
one of her handmaidens though? Like she like turncoated to him and was like, he said you'd be screwed.
She was the one. Yeah, she was the one. She was the one from the very beginning with the Dothraki that like taught her how to have sex with Khal Drogo. So that was it sucks. Yeah, he said he'd be screwed. Well, of course he did. He's just trying to sleep with you, for God's sake.
Yeah. I guess they can sleep with each other in that dark, empty vault one last time.
Yeah,
or many last times.
Many last times. Like that's their grave. But yeah, that kind of. that's always a good time with but not a lot there. Like I did forget how much time they spent on that, and covered so little.
But that wraps up Danny's arc here and storyline here.
Yeah.
And then I guess probably the next one that's the least has the least remaining is the Harrenhal arc. We kind of almost got to the end and then ended up spiraling off into other things, but Arya gets caught with a letter. The dude that catches her is about to like tell Tywin like, hey, this girl's reading your privy notes that probably shouldn't be read by anyone else. She goes to see the man and he's like, I got another name for you, go kill this dude.
This is good though.
He does right in the nick of time, like he's walking into the room and he gets shot with,
I love it.
The dart.
But I love the interaction with him though, because he's like, a man cannot choose the name, time of death
or time of death.
Like she's like, how fast?
Like you can't rush it.
Can't rush it. But then he's like, like now it needs to happen now.
But this like sparks the whole like manhunt, if you will, for the Harrenhal assassin, which is interesting. And we have already kind of covered the Tywin Arya interactions and stuff, but the final interaction here with Arya and the man, she wants to escape, with Gendry and old Fatty Cakes, and she like outwits the man here. She's like, well, I have my last name, and he's like, all right, yeah, come on, who you got? And he's like, she's like, you.
And
he's like, wait, I can't kill myself.
Hey, I love that. You give a man his own name.
And she's like, well, if you don't want to, then you can help me escape. And he's like, well, no, I said I'd kill 3 people. Like, I'm not like your buddy. And she's like, all right, fine, kill yourself then.
He's just so
super smart.
And so he's like, all right, what? Like, I do love like these like moments where he's very clearly annoyed, but also like kind of endeared by by her. He's like, all right, you got me good. I guess I'll help you. Come to the gate at midnight, just walk right on through. And so she tells Gendry and the chubby guy. I refuse to call him a name. I'm just gonna call him. I'm gonna body.
I mean, his
him.
Name's Hot Pie.
Hot
sounds like a fat guy name, so you might as well just call him Hot Pie.
But she goes back and tells him, and they're like, "Are you nuts? Like, we're not just gonna waltz through this guarded gate at midnight. Like, they're not just gonna let us go." So the time comes, and they finally do it. And as they're walking through the gate, they realize that everyone is murdered.
Everyone's
and they're
way
just,
more than 3 people
pinned to the wall at their post to look like they're not dead anymore, which was pretty rowdy. And so they escape, and they're on their journey or whatever. And we have like the one last interaction between Arya and Hagen, and he just like finds her. And she's like, hey, how the heck did you find me? And he like gives her a coin, and he's like, if you ever make it to such and such city, I can't remember.
Bravos. Yeah, this is so cool, dude, because this dude's from Bravos. It just makes me so interested in what's going on in Bravos, because we have this dude who's got crazy shit going on, and then we have the dancing dude from the first seasons from Bravos as well. It's just like, dude, I just want to go to Bravos and see what's going on.
These guys sound cool.
It sounds awesome.
But
he gives her
the coin.
Yeah, go for it.
And he's like, I the details are escaping me, so maybe you should.
He just gives her a coin and gives her a phrase to say, which I'm not even going to try to say. It's like Vala Magulis or something. And he says, if you ever need to find me, give this coin to anybody from Bravos and say that phrase, and they'll know exactly where to bring you. So very important for later on in subsequent seasons. But yeah, definitely cool sequence through this entire ending here, especially with the guards all pinned up and everything.
What about his face?
And yeah, and then he kind of turns around and puts another face on and walks away. He looks totally different, and it's cool, man. It's cool. I'm really starting to dig the magic that's getting introduced through here.
Yes.
Throughout this entire season, really there's a lot of magic going on.
I do love how they still
underestimate it.
Used his voice though.
Yeah.
So I think we can talk about Theon's kind of like rest of his arc here real quick before we hit the like real big one back to old
because there's a lot of important stuff that happens here.
Yeah. So essentially Theon is like just constantly just challenged with like what he should be doing. He always just picks the wrong decision. So essentially we get to the point where the maester has to die
Rip.
because he had to pay the iron price. The boys escape. Bran and what's his younger brother's name?
The other brother.
Rickon.
Yeah, Rickon with Hodor
and Budget Laurie Cohen.
And Budget Laurie Cohen. It's funny because when you said that originally, I thought you were talking about the wildling at Craster's Keep. The girl there, and I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe that's why I said Dollar Tree, but now I get it a little bit more. Maybe she is, a little higher up than Dollar Tree.
But essentially, they catch the wrong kids, but they think they're the right kids. I could have sworn in my memory that there was a point where he knew.
Yeah, he definitely knows because I think they paid the farmer or something.
Yeah, he knew that he.
But does his boys not know?
Kids. I don't know if they know. I don't think they know. I think he know. I think Theon knows.
They can't know because that's like his power play.
That's his power play.
Assert his dominance and show them, like, get their respect.
Yeah. So they do play it up like that is Bran and Rickon. Let's not forget for maybe an episode or two, right?
Yeah. That was like the ending of an episode, showing them like they're burnt.
Yeah.
Again. Children do not
faring well this season.
Yeah. Game of Thrones.
And then it was the end of the next episode where they show them escaping and all that jazz.
Yep.
So that's one where that's going to have some repercussions because basically word on the street is officially that Theon here murdered the two Stark boys. Burned them alive. But he basically Winterfell gets surrounded by a detachment of Rob's boys.
Mm-hmm.
And Theon gives this really good speech and ultimately gets his he just knocked out, and they're like, man, like these guys just want to go back to the boat and get out of here. Like they're not trying to have glory with old Theon here.
Well, there's like an interaction between Theon and his sister too, where she like her squad rolls up. She's like, all right, you can go home now. Like I'll take over.
Yeah. And
he gets all pissy with her, of course, because he's like, no. I took this castle with only 20 men from this crippled 9-year-old. And I will continue to hold it because, Robb Stark always said this fort could be held by so many against so many.
Yeah. And I do love the horn sequence through this entire thing where it's just
I was going to bring that up.
And then it's
they're doing the psychological
Waco warfare. Yep. I love that.
He's just like, I will kill that man.
The guy you were talking about earlier was Roose Bolton. He was the one that said, I got my bastards up north. I want to point that out because that is an important character.
That's why I was saying that. I did not realize I saw his face and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Okay. Now I know. Now I was trying to clear that up over here and I was like, okay, that's exactly who he's talking about. Yes, you are correct. He does show up later.
So
I was like, damn, that's dirty.
Yeah. So Winterfell is surrounded here. Theon, like Nick said, tries to rile up, his 20 men to take on and defend, the siege of Winterfell against.
Great speech. Great speech.
Great.
Nailed it.
And I think he got the boys hyped, except for like the one boy that mattered, who ends up knocking them out, and just like, hey, we're not doing that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah, we're
this is a shit show.
So yeah, so they stab, they pokey poke the maester, they knock out Theon, they book out of Winterfell, not before ransacking and burning the place down to the ground.
Yes. Important.
Big rip.
But what happens here at the end? Because this isn't the end of the Meister, I guess, really, and Bran and Budget Laurie Cohen. They all make their way to the what's the Godwood, or what is this?
Yeah, the Godswood. Yep.
Yeah,
They're headed north.
And Maester's just chilling under the tree, slowly dying, and very sad scene between he and the boys. But yeah, he's basically like, you guys got to get the heck out of here. Go up to the wall, like have Jon Snow like take care of you, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of where we leave there.
Yep. Heading north, they are.
Yep. Never to be seen again for 5 seasons.
Yep.
Spoiler. No, we see them on and off.
But that's a good segue into, because there have been a few things happening in the north, not very much, but a kind of a funny storyline that plays out in the last half of the season, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, because essentially Jon Snow, how does that happen?
Their squad, they like roll up on a little camp of like 4 or 5 wildlings.
That's right. Yeah. They catch them off guard. They kill 2, capture 1. John's supposed to kill the other one. So they obviously, classic fashion, you leave the person alone to do the deed he's probably not going to actually do.
Right.
So he doesn't.
And it is a female. That's the issue I think he's having, is that it's a female that he
doesn't kill the pretty wildling.
Yeah.
And basically they have a chase scene. It's cute. They're running around. He captures her.
Little sleepy booty action.
Sleepy pokey.
Yeah.
I
love that.
By
Yeah.
the way.
Did you pull a knife on me in the night?
Yeah.
She's just got this like more like advanced like sense of humor about her than like John. Like he's real uptight and just like very flustered by that, and she's just like what's up?
Speaking of letting the poison out.
Yeah.
John needs to let the poison out.
Yes.
And she keeps like teasing and egging him on that he can't, because he's following these arbitrary like rules that are completely made up. Like I like that whole part of the dialogue. Like once you get past the humor and stuff, is like the whole time they're on this little road trip chase sequence, like she's basically giving him the rundown of like, you guys think we're these crazy people, but like we're up here like living in actual freedom, and here you are basically living a life of solitude, living by these made up rules. For what reason? To be free, and like you're more a captive than anyone.
Yeah,
which I thought was really cool.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah, I love her character. I love the little snippets that we get of her comedy relief, especially the like when she's asking like, so you don't sleep with women? Do you sleep with each other? Do you sleep with they're trying to figure that all out. So yeah,
it's a very good levity from all the child murder.
Right. Right. Been a rough season. Yeah.
John doesn't have that kind of stuff happen around him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so once again, the tables turn. She actually lures him into a trap, and her people capture him, but they've also captured part of his party.
Yeah, a couple other crows. And they basically hatch a quiet plan for, he's like, listen, we're going to die, or you're going to win their trust, and you're going to do something. Like, don't make this all in vain, dummy. Like, do something. So there's actually a very convincing fight that the 2 crows have, Jon Snow and the other crow, and kills him, earns the Lord of Bones' trust. Dude, I love his little getup.
Dude, he's great.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
I just love the idea that there's like all this crap north of the wall, and like there's just this guy called the Lord of Bones, and like he's kind of important, and his thing is he just wears armor made completely of bones.
Yeah.
Like just imagine, like, what's his thing? Oh, he just wears armor full of bones. Why does he do that? Because he's sweet.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
I mean, you take these guys are supposed to be like Vikings, right? Is that how you take the wildlings?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
like very deep Norsemen kind
Right.
of. Not they're just wildlings.
Yeah.
It's the kind of
Woods people.
mind-breaking analysis you come here for.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're just
wildlings.
Well, it's a cool scene because he walks, Ygritte here walks him to the cliff, and then we see finally the people of the all the wildlings gathered.
Settlement or whatever.
Yeah, huge camp, huge military camp in this valley.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where we leave Jon Snow. He's definitely in a dicey situation where he just kind of has to put on this front, convince them that he's turned coat. Luckily, the leader of the wildlings did the same thing. He's an ex-crow turned wildling leader, king beyond the wall. So there's a shot here. There's a shot.
Yeah.
Side note: his boys find some dragon glass while digging shitters in the snow.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yes, and important.
And the whole entire season ends on this. I completely forgot about this. Our boy,
Samuel
Gamgee. He's just like he's like hiding behind a rock in a blizzard and is overtaken by a bunch of by like what are they called?
White Walkers.
White Walkers. Yeah.
This whole sequence is really cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
you get
it's
the
super
3 horn blasts.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that.
But it's
whole
like
sequence
really
is cool.
slow. So like you hear the first one and they all kind of look at each other and they're like, oh, one horn. That
they're
means
back.
This. And
Yeah,
then they're like,
back.
the second one comes and they're like, oh no, that
Wildlings.
Wildlings.
Yeah, and then they hear the third one and they're all just like,
only
they
Sam
all take
knows.
up. Yeah.
Only Sam knows really what it means.
White Walkers.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for Sam because they just like literally
dip,
turn tail, and they don't even care about Sam.
Yeah. But I do find this scene very, very interesting because we're seeing the White Walkers really for the first time. We've seen them before, but in a bigger fashion, I guess is the best way to put it. We see that there's kind of 2 different pieces to the White Walkers. The White Walkers, which are the ones on the horse, and then the Whites, WIGHT.
Wow, dude.
Which are the
go there, huh?
zombies. So yeah, it's super cool. I think it's very interesting that they totally ignore Samwell for whatever reason. He kind of looks at him, looks right at him, and then they just dip out.
Yeah, so bigger fish to fry.
So yeah, keep that in mind. But yeah, this is the first time seeing one of my favorite elements of the show in a bigger capacity. So yeah, I totally forgot about this too for whatever reason. Yeah. I thought we weren't seeing them again until later, but apparently
that just shows you how much they peppered in the whole time.
Yeah,
I think it's great that they do Lauren Cohen. Give her some of her zombie brethren back. After her stint in The Walking Dead, now she's in Game of Thrones.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, I just really had to explain
that.
Explain
it. We're just over here. We just know about White Walker zombies. Yeah. When we have any other zombies.
Yeah.
So that's that. Quickly shifting gears to like the cool, other big arc here, and we have Stannis rolling up hot on King's Landing because he's like, I'm gonna sack this place. And this is the penultimate episode. There's obviously tons of other stuff that's been happening around this. A lot of good Tyrion stuff, Varys stuff, Tyrion trying to run the city, trying to like protect the city, hatching the plan. A lot of like stuff in the shadows, but just a lot of good stuff with Tyrion being the main character. It's just so much going on.
Is really that exciting, but it's all so important.
Yes, it is very all important.
Because like peppered in between like the learning and the preparations he's trying to do to get the city ready to defend the siege, like no one is like buying into the fact that they're about to get sieged.
Right.
Like Joffrey's doing dumb Joffrey things and making everyone hate him. They have that whole cow pie thing happen. I believe they're on their way back from sending the sister off.
Yes.
Right. So they're on their way back to the whatever castle or
Red Keep.
Yes, Keep. Yep. There you go. and just like a crazy riot breaks out. Sansa kind of gets separated, is about to get, again, children in Game of Thrones. The Hound comes and saves her, which is pretty cool. You kind of see a little humanization of the Hound throughout this story arc. But yeah, basically it leads all these kind of boring but impactful things lead up to this episode 9, the siege.
Stannis rolling up in the fleet, and they start the drum beat.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Like that.
They want to play music, drums. Yeah, it's so cool.
And all that's just so cool. I love like naval sieges and all that stuff. But they're like, oh, where's the fleet, right? And we just get this lone boat just kind of floating, and like it's kind of very Pirates of the Caribbean reminisce, because you're looking at it like, oh, where's the crew? And then it's going by, and Davos is looking. He's like, shit. It's like wildfire just like pouring out of the back, right?
Yeah.
And
it sucks because like he knows, but like, what can you do? Like he can't do anything.
Right.
What are you gonna do? And you have all this preparation on the walls, and there's all this buildup, and then you got the signal, right? Which is the torch being thrown over the wall.
Yeah. Which
is then Bronn here,
yeah,
who's just awesome through this whole seson anyways. Like he's just Bronn being Bronn.
Yeah.
Like the whole planning meeting where like he's studying all the paper.
Yeah.
Just, do you have to do that here? But he's just got this longbow, and he just rips this thing like forever into the bay.
It's such a cool shot too. I love
How bad would
shot.
It suck if like he missed?
Yeah, right.
It's pretty hard to miss though.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's stuck on like one of the boats and it killed someone. It's like, but it's Bronn, man. He knows what he's doing. And this is his thing too. Like the easy shot that does the most damage and wins. This thing just it's in the picture here. Like I forgot this even happened, I feel like. And it just is the most beautiful explosion of just green. Yeah. And all the boats just get annihilated.
Decimated.
Just did so good showing this.
Yeah.
And this was actually all in part to where this season the producers really pushed HBO to be like, can we have a bigger budget for like battles? Because like they were very bad in like season 1, where they're just like, hey, battle.
So much so, they
next morning
skipped it. Yeah,
they skipped it. They do that.
You can only knock out like commanders of battles so many times before they catch on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very good visuals here, and just like really stepping up that quality in terms of like explosions, war, right? We get a little bit more like fighting like on the beach at the mud gate and all that stuff.
And this is cool because it shows how big Stannis's army actually is, because we just watched their fleet get decimated, but there's still a shit ton of guys rolling in boats, rolling up to
he got a few or most of Renly's forces after that.
And thinking on his like whole demeanor in this situation, he's just like, someone's like, dude, hundreds are gonna die. And he's like, thousands.
Yeah, thousands. Love it.
He's like, dude, we're doing this.
It. Yeah.
Just a number, baby. I'm getting that throne.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, this whole siege very much reminded me of Lord of the Rings. Like from them manning the wall and preparing to seeing the fleet of ships and the horde of Uruk-hai and all that stuff. Even down to the single ship going in and exploding, to the berserker with the bomb, like running into the tunnel of the wall, blowing it up, to the actual foot soldiers sieging and throwing the ladders up on the wall. And I mean, it's just, once you watch that happen in Lord of the Rings, you're just like, well, every siege is going to now be compared to this.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it lives up to it though. I think it was a good siege.
That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, man. Definitely my favorite episode of the entire season. Just everything about it. Just seeing how siege warfare happened back then with the ladders and the rocks and the flipping over the boats to protect themselves, and just Stannis's like determination through everything. And I'm gonna be honest, he's kind of a badass too. He's up on top of the wall and he's just cutting guys down left and right.
And they have to drag him away because he's losing all the footing around him because the Tyrells show up.
Yep.
Little turncoat there. Not
boy,
they just kind
Tywin comes in out of nowhere when the whole time they
Tywin?
kind of make you think that he's gonna go march on Rob's forces, or at least that's what I interpreted it as.
Right.
Yeah. And I think another really cool sequence is Cersei in the room with all the women. I love that.
Yeah.
That whole thing with Sansa. I thought that was great.
She's just slamming wine down her gullet.
Yeah.
Just like it's being real with her.
Yeah.
And I also see this as like the death of the old Cersei, really, because really it was her greatest time of weakness, because she was really about to kill one of her children. She was about to kill herself.
Yeah.
All because of like this fear that this thing was going to happen. And who comes bursting through the door? Like her dad, right?
Yeah.
And you can just see it. Like, she's like, this is stupid. Like, why I'm just this. And she complained about the whole time. Like, this is just our duty. This is just what we do. It's just getting drunk, being pissed about it.
Yeah.
So this is very much like the end of that Cersei that we kind of see in a spiral this whole season.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely, it's just so well set up too, especially with Tommen and her sitting in the throne room, because really the battle is lost. You think the battle is lost. It's not
Joffrey
going.
left. He was like, I'm gonna go hang out with my mommy.
And that's another thing we need to point out. Like, I
douche.
love Joffrey through this whole thing. Like, he's just a stuck
She
up
needs
little
me
ass.
for a very important matter. We must go.
Yeah.
What?
And just the whole time where he's like, "Where are the ships? Where are the ships?" I just love his sequence there. He's such a pansy. I can't stand it. But yeah, it they make it look like Stannis is like winning. Like this is gonna happen. And then for the Tyrells and everybody to roll up, I just thought it was so cool, man. Especially again, Tywin owning every scene that he's in, walking into that room and saying,
Points
"Battle's
his
over."
Of course, just Dookies like right
yeah.
in the throne room as he's walking. Or is that in the?
That's the next episode.
that's the
Yeah.
10th.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, it's all the end.
Right.
I love how he just walks in his horse.
He's
taking a
he's
big
taking
old
more
dump.
control over the situation.
Yeah.
That sucks. That drives me nuts because like Tyrion
Saved everybody, bro.
devised this massive plan. Like everything that he put into motion, like worked up until a point where they just got outnumbered.
Yeah.
Clear. I mean, that really was the issue. But like not only that, but he like stepped it up and actually like went outside of the gates and tried to like.
And I want to talk that speech that he gives to the guys. Oh man, dude, I could listen to that speech over and over. Like the whole, those are brave men. Let's go kill them. I love that whole speech, man. So good.
But like, give all the deep stuff, then you have to end it with like a real straightforward thing.
Yeah,
with them.
Yeah.
But like he's just like the true hero, right? Like if essentially if it wasn't for all of the things that he did, like the King's Landing would be lost.
Yeah,
but then
absolutely.
Tywin rolls in, helps win the battle, and then just like poor Tyrion just gets literally like Harry Pottered and thrown into the closet.
Yeah. And I love that the maester that we didn't breeze over, but he put him in jail earlier on in the season. He's the one that's standing over him. Yeah, and not acting. At least to me, it seems like he's not acting like the crippled old man. He's acting like the normal dude, and just flips him the coin. Yeah, so cool. But yeah, I feel terrible for Tyrion, man, because he got the short end of the stick. No pun intended.
Wow, jeez. Very insensitive of you.
And he has a really touchy moment with his woman too. He's like Shay. Definitely falling in love with Shay.
Oh yeah.
Well, and like I forget his name, but the Lord of Whispers or whatever.
Varys.
Yeah, Varys comes in. He's just like, listen, dude, like I appreciate all you did.
Lots of people do.
You're the real MVP, but everyone's gonna try to kill you.
Yeah.
You should probably leave.
You smack the king.
Yeah.
I smacked you. Now what am I going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Or I smacked the king. Now what happens?
Yeah, I love that. That's what I'm talking about. Like Joffrey's just like this dumb 13-year-old. Like, what?
Yeah. Everybody Cersei slaps him too. It's just fun to see him get slapped. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But I do love the moment between him and Shay here, where basically she's like, "Yeah, let's get the heck out of here. Like, let's do this." And he's like, we have the whole like, was this real an actor? Like, I actually love you. Like, I don't believe that you actually love me. Blah blah blah. Turns out she does, but she's like, basically trying to get him to leave, right? For safety reasons. But he's like, like, this is all I know. Like, I play this game and I'm good at it. And frankly, I like it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to stay.
Rip.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, definitely a cool interaction between them at the end. But yeah, I just feel so freaking awful for him, man, because it's just like, in the dumps.
And were they trying to dupe us and thinking like, oh, penultimate episode, main character dies?
Yeah,
he doesn't.
Yeah,
but it looks like he did.
It did, definitely.
It's got a pretty rad scar now.
Yes. Yeah, he does.
I'm excited to see, what happens though, as we.
Dude, I'm excited for you
forward.
because moving forward, this like 3, 4, 5, and 6 are where it's gonna get really, for my money at least, is where it gets really good, especially 4, 5, 6.
Okay, I was gonna be like, you named half the series.
yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, I always tell people when I give them the show, like, you definitely just got to get through the first season for the story. Second season gets better. Now from here on out, it's gonna like start roller coastering way up, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that, Nick.
I'd say so.
3
is where things really start like clicking, and I mean, I'm just here for the finale of season 6.
Yeah. One of the best episodes in television history.
Correct.
Let's be real.
Correct.
Yeah.
Actually, I cite it as my favorite 20 minutes of television ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is the opener.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, of the finale, season 6.
So good. Yep.
Dang, dude. That's some high praise.
Yep.
Yeah. Season 3, man. Don't sleep on season 3 though, because season 3 is great. Can't wait. We're never gonna watch it. Like what, 6 months from now we're gonna do an episode on it, or what is it?
Oh my gosh.
Bro, it's not even an episode a night. It's like 30 minutes a night.
Gosh.
Okay, I'll leave it there. I just had to get it on the air so everybody heard me. So when they're like,
our next season 3 will be on June 9th. So that is
like 6 months from now.
Oh my gosh. It's literally
next Thursday.
2 weeks. Like not even 2 weeks. It's
week and
like
a half.
9 days.
That's the pay. I'm all right with like a week and a half. 2 weeks though, man. That's a little steep.
It's a little heavy on the front. Then it's gonna space out here after that next one.
So what do we got coming up here? Thursday, we have actually technically tonight, today.
Oh, today is the newscast. Yeah.
We're now at 12:14 a.m.
Yep.
We got our newscast later this Monday evening, a Memorial Day special, I do say.
Yeah.
We're gonna be having a different, unique style of the newscast, which I'm really excited for. And then Thursday we will be preparing ourselves and hopefully you for the return of The Boys season 3, which will be dropping on the 3rd, I believe. So that should be a lot of fun. And then the 9th, the next two Thursdays from now, we'll be back, season 3 of Game of Thrones. So a lot of good things coming down the pipeline here. Excited.
And shout out Ugly Kid Joe Cross for hanging out with us,
sticking it out.
Heck yeah. I don't want to make you guys feel like not special, but he's back on midnight, so he literally has nothing else to do.
Oh wow, that really.
But we appreciate you being here, man, and we hope that we were able to make this 3 hours and 9 minutes of your work night a little more entertaining, my good friend. Yeah, you guys got anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap up here?
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll see you in a few hours.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king. Knowledge is power.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
Your Grace.
Grandfather, tell me about the Targaryen girl and her dragons.
Whoa.
How did it just become two of us? Mike just dipped
left.
without saying bye.
Yep, he just dipped. He had to go. Too late for him. Past his bedtime. Big sleepy boy.